With a new setup comes new mistakes. But anyway, we are live today. The lodge is back. Finally moved into my new place. So it was a long weekend, but with the power of love and family, my wife, my mom and dad, we made it work. We made it happen. And now we're in a new lodge. It looks much the same as the old lodge, as you might tell, because frankly, the same stuff is up here. And now we got carpet. We've got a carpeted lodge, which doesn't actually exist because lodges are supposed to be wooden, but I want everyone to ignore that. Anyway, let's give a shout out and some love to the sages of the lodge, the beautiful names you see on your screen here. You know who they are. They're the sickos. They're the normies. They're the ones who keep this show rolling. Speaking of which, we are talking FF7 Rebirth today. Just want to let everybody know, OG spoilers are on the table. Remake spoilers are on the table. We're not going to talk about any of the Rebirth leaks at all. Not talking about those at all. But as far as remake and the OG go, Dirge of Cerberus, Advent Children, it is all on the table. So, to be forward, if anyone is trying to avoid that, now's the time to go away and come back another day. But, without further ado, allow me to introduce all of today's guests. Some sickos and normies themselves. We've got AndyBru, KittiesinMitties, Felicia, I'm sorry, I keep slipping on that, KHGuides, and Lands of Masters. What's going on, everybody? Are we ready to talk Rebirth today?
Heck
yeah. Yes.
So I just want to, again, get us off on the right foot, talk about what's important. In the pre-roll, we discussed a funny thing called sexy hojo. Does anybody, care to clear that up as to what that might be?
Kitties.
Okay, well,
sexy
the basis is if you haven't daydreamed about hojo at least once, you're lying, and you know you're lying.
Keep going. I'd like to hear
He's
more.
a sexy guy. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, look, he's doing us all a favor by staying covered up in his lab coat, because underneath that, he's shredded. I'm telling you.
I wonder how much we'll see in Costa del Sol.
If they don't show us, I will.
I mean, he's got more game than Vincent, that's for sure.
Way more.
But
way more.
You didn't have to bring my boy into
Let's
this.
talk about that. It's canon.
It's canon.
Yep.
That's why I would love to see that's something just to get us going. Like that's something from that you didn't get from the original so much that I would love to get in Rebirth. A clash between Vincent and Hojo. Like a real one.
Yeah.
You get that in Dirge, but I want it in Rebirth.
I think that might be a part 3 thing, in my opinion. Because I feel like it would be awesome if Vincent was the one to actually take out Hojo. Not Weiss Hojo, but you know what I mean.
Hojo.
It would be
Do you think we'll get the flashbacks in Rebirth?
Like the kind of flashbacks you see in Dirge to Lucrezia and younger Hojo, is that what you mean?
Well, yeah, but they did show some of that in OG. Or do you think we'll get
maybe a little, but not a lot. I don't see them giving us the full story of it. Just because I feel like in the original they didn't really give us the whole story of it, but I could see them giving us a few visuals.
I feel like we'll get some
agree.
flashbacks. Not the extent of drugs or anything like that. But I do believe that we'll see. I think we'll see Lucrezia and Rebirth. I think we'll see those flashbacks from Vincent's past. I think we'll see Took Vincent in Rebirth as well, because in that one trailer where he says to Cloud, "I have some history of Sephiroth." I think we'll get a little bit of that story, of those story bits.
I'm wondering though. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was done.
Oh no, I was saying I'm wondering though if they will save those for part 3, because in the trailer he mentions that he has history with Sephiroth, but thinking when you pick up Vincent, it's towards the end of disc 1, so I don't know if they're gonna want to drop that Vincent lore towards the end of the game, because we are building up to the Forgotten City. So I'm wondering if they will save that for part 3 just due to pacing purposes.
That's a good point.
I
think
agree.
I do think we'll see it in part 2, but I think like the cave we'll see in part 3.
Yeah.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
not gonna give you
Yeah.
everything in part 2 if they do.
Yeah.
I
give you
think
anything.
we'll see a face maybe, but again, I don't think it's going to be anything crazy.
I think what might happen, like, so you know how like we've seen some of the trailers for Rebirth, how we might get a bit more. Well, we probably will get this with like Barrett and his story and Corral. I reckon because obviously Vincent, I might be wrong with this. Someone please like correct me if I'm wrong, but Vincent, we can't play as him in Rebirth, can we?
No.
So
From
maybe
what we heard, no. Yeah.
So, yeah, so maybe sort of the way that some other the characters are getting their stories explored a bit deeper in Rebirth, maybe Vincent is also going to be saved for part 3 along with Sid, perhaps.
I'm not
You
gonna
guys
lie.
Agree.
I'm kind of hoping for a Vincent DLC after
Me
the game
too.
Me too.
Me too.
Me
Me
too.
too. Me too.
because I love him.
I could
Or a
see
Dirge
that.
remake would be okay.
I'd be okay with both. Why not both?
Give me both.
Yeah,
Give me
why
all
not
of it.
both?
Give me all of it. Give me all that.
Honestly,
edgy
a full Dirge
content.
remake with this episode at the end that then follows into the story of 7 will be really sick.
It'd be so
be
cool.
lit.
Yeah, I would especially.
Do you
love
guys
to
think we'll see?
Oh, you?
Do you think we'll see Sierra in part 2, or do you think she'll be in part 3?
Yes,
I think
I think she's gonna be in part 2
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I think you get like all the Sid stuff.
Yeah.
Not all the Sid stuff,
Well,
but like
we know
like
he at least shows up.
yeah. But now I don't know because the way that they're portraying him in the trailers has me a little worried. Like, are they
I'm a little
changing like
concerned.
his story?
He
like,
needs to be an asshole.
know,
I'm gonna.
He needs to be an
I-
asshole.
As someone who's been like,
We've
kinda
talked about this
rallying on that,
before,
yeah, we
but,
talked
yeah.
about it before. Here's what I'll say: everything we've seen from the trailer is him talking to Aerith, and he's always had a soft spot
Right.
for Aerith. Like in the original, his big regret was that he
True.
never got to
Yeah.
take her on the airship. So it's possible to her he's like a sweetheart, but then to the rest of the cast, he's just like, don't get out of my face, like So that's still very possible.
I want it.
I hope so now.
Yeah, even if you have to nerf his the uncomfortableness of him, you could still make him a jackass.
Mhm.
I mean, but I think KH 2 and 3 did a solid job of his character, even though he was a little bit nerfed.
Yeah.
I
A
take
little
that.
bit.
A little. I want
Well,
him to
it's
swear
like-
at me at least once.
In Kingdom
Yeah.
Hearts, he
Ridiculous.
just has like surface level crankiness, you know? Yeah, like there's not
Yeah.
a lot of depth to his character, except that he maybe had some like fatherly vibes to Sora at the beginning. Oh, look at me talking about Kingdom Hearts in a Final Fantasy podcast. But in 7, like I really hope we get to expand more on his character and see some growth from him. Like
Yeah.
make him start out as an asshole, but over time show some softness towards the other characters. Kind of like how we saw with Barrett in Remake.
Yeah, they could really fuss out the Avalanche characters. I have no doubt they'll be able to do that with Sid, who is one of the main characters.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm interested to see, honestly, because it looks like a lot of the things going on with the Turks appear to be very different. Because I feel like they've always, like the devs have always loved the Turks. Because they make sure no matter what game you're playing, the Turks are always important. Like no
Yep.
matter what, before Crisis, Crisis Core, Dirge, Advent Children, the Turks are just, they're always there. And I love, speaking of the Turks, as well as Rufus's arc, but it's something that's pretty streamlined in the original. But it seems like something they always wanted to flesh out a little more. So honestly, he's one of the characters I've got my eyes on the most. Rufus and the Turks, because there seems to be just a lot more going on this time around. Like Rude's attacking Tifa.
Yeah.
They're not messing around. OG Rude wouldn't attack
Yeah.
Tifa. Now he's going for it.
Yeah.
Stakes are higher.
I mean, who doesn't have their eyes? I was going to say, who doesn't have their eyes on Rufus?
Rufus is just a sexy guy. He's just a sexy
Hey,
guy.
he's got nothing
He
on
is.
Mojo.
Yeah.
On shredded Mojo.
I was gonna say, but you've met Hojo,
Okay.
right?
Speaking of, well, I guess not really speaking of Rufus, but I am like, just I guess I'm thinking of Rufus, I'm thinking of Junon, but I'm actually really excited to see everybody be a part of the parade instead of just Cloud. Like, I think that'd be like a really cool thing. Cause like you kind of like figure like everybody, you know, they all end up on the ship like dressed up. So you figure that they were in there, but it's gonna be cool to actually see them like actually be in the parade and stuff like that.
I want to see Red 13 dressed up. Top of the wish list right there.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait to see that. And just see the towel just
going.
I'm just really looking forward as well, like just for the, I guess, the banter as well for these characters and the bonds of these characters just sort of shining even more so in Rebirth than in Remake, like especially with having Red a bit more involved in the team this time and Yuffie and of course Vincent and Sid, but just the growth of everybody. And yeah, I can't wait to see that.
What particular dynamic?
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's any like. Go ahead.
Sorry, Landy, what was that?
What particular dynamic, when you talk about this banter, which dynamic are you looking forward to the most?
Probably Sid and anybody else. Probably.
It's a good answer. It's a good answer.
Probably, yeah.
I'm interested to see like how many like different like scenarios of dialogue there's going to be based on the relationship between the characters.
Yeah. I kind of really want to see what Yuffie and Red 13 banter looks like, because I feel like Yuffie's just going to be like, oh my gosh, it's such a cute dog. And he's like, I am not the dog. You know, like, I don't know. I think it's going to be really fun. Like, that's something that I love a lot in just RPGs, is just banter between the characters, whether that's in battle, whether that's in the field. Like, I feel like it really makes you feel more connected to the party, like not even just the individual characters, but just like the party and the crew. And like, you feel like that you are on an adventure with them, because, you know, we are like you, whenever you go on a road trip with your friends, or if you go out with your friends, you're not just like saying nothing the whole time. Like, you're having conversation. And so I am really looking forward to seeing how that is, because like that's a big reason why I love like FF15 so much, even though like a lot of people don't like it, is because like the banter between the bros is it's fun and it's natural, and it's like you're having a good time. Might not be the best game out there, but you're having a good time. And so that's kind of like my hope for. I like banter. I like fun moments like that. I am thrilled that Aerith is officially joining the Men in Black because of those shades that she put on during that Barrett team attack. So that's awesome to see. I want to see more. I'm excited to see more of like the synergy attacks too, because they look like so much fun. And I feel like there's going to be nothing like a first time experiencing like, you know, a synergy attack between like Yuffie and Tifa, you know what I mean? And just seeing like what they can do together and things like that.
Yeah,
just going back on like your point with Barrett, like not Barrett, sorry, but with like the banter, like I felt like with Remake they did like such a good job with like all the characters, but like Barrett specifically.
Barrett
like,
stole the show
like,
for me.
Stole the show so much with Remake, and it's like what you said, like you'd be in battle and it'd be throwing banter, and Barrett threw so much banter and stuff with like even at the beginning, like, you know, don't aim. I can't remember what he says, but it's like he says something about the giant scorpion, and it just makes you laugh in that. And I'm just excited to see like what they do with like other characters, very similar to what you said. But Remake did so good with that I'm excited to see how they do that again with Rebirth.
It's gonna be really interesting. Really interesting to see how they handle that though, because now they have more characters.
Yeah.
And I mean, other JRPGs that have been that long running and adding more characters, it's hard to balance having all the individual relationships. When you have 7 to 9 people in a party, how do you make sure that each individual person has some type of relationship with all of their party members? So it's going to be interesting to see how they expand on that.
Yeah, if anything, that would
and also,
go for it. All you guys.
No, I was going to say, one things I really hope that Rebirth improves on Remake is, as I'm playing through Remake, all the NPCs that you walk by, you trigger their dialogue, right? Which is great for world building. Like, you get to see their relationships with the world and like how it affects them personally. My one ask is that if I'm talking to a party member and that dialogue is playing as we're like escorting someone, that the NPC dialogue takes its turn. Because if you walk by a crowd,
Mm.
you're hearing like 13 different dialogues at the same time, and it's really hard to pick up on, who's talking and saying what.
It's like exactly 13, right? Like exactly 13.
Of course,
All
13.
right. I just wanted to make
I
sure.
should have said
All
7.
right.
I
Yeah.
should have said 7.
I think the clash I'm looking forward to most is Yuffie and Barrett, because I feel like there's so much unexplored lore there between you have someone who champions Avalanche and someone who champions Wutai. And especially when you consider it seems like they're setting Wutai up to be much bigger this time around. They said we're not going to Wutai in Rebirth. They're saving it for part 3. But if anything, I think that speaks to how big it's going to be. That Wutai is going to be a big deal. And if you, the last trailer, the hooded figure, it's heavily implied they're from Wutai. So, anyone have predictions on who that might be?
Glenn. We
You think
already
it's
know.
Glenn?
I think that.
We've been saying Glenn. I've thought about.
I think they're saving the.
Go ahead.
I think there's going to be some lore at the end of First Soldier that I'm not caught up on First Soldier, but I believe that like that's going to get explained near the end of First Soldier once that story ends. But the other typical Square Enix mobile game being important to the lore of the main game. So I think this is going to be one of those things.
Yeah, I don't know who else it could be. I mean, like, I at first I was like, oh, it could just be like another Sephiroth clone, but that would be too like Rufus wouldn't have that reaction, the reaction that he did, like in the trailer whenever like he came up to him. So I don't know. Like I don't know.
Makes me wonder if we'll see like young Rufus in First Soldier. And he knows who that is.
You'd imagine Rufus with a buzz cut. I'm sorry. I don't know why. I don't know why I was thinking about that. But I'm thinking of like young Sephiroth and young Rufus. I'm like, what if Rufus had a buzz cut? No, that would not work. No.
I'm just really interested in general, like to see what the hell is going on with like the timelines of this game. Like, I even watched like I caught up and watched the theme song trailer just before we started this actually, because I hadn't watched it since the Game Awards, and I rewatched it, and then I watched that part in the theme song trailer where you see like Biggs talking with like Zach, and like what the hell is going on there? Like I don't know what your guys' thoughts are about the whole timeline stuff, but I can't wait to see what that's all about, because at the current moment, it's absolutely mind-blowing me.
Okay.
Yeah,
my speculation. Go ahead.
No, you go first.
I was going to say my speculation is that it's a form of the live stream. I call it speculation because I don't really have a lot of like things to back that up. But I do think that's my headcanon is that's like that where Biggs and Zach are it's a form of the live stream, and I feel like there was some why Cloud is there and why Marlene is there that will probably like be explained in the story. But that's my speculation of what the timeline stuff is.
Yeah, and I'm starting to kind of buy into that theory more, especially just with like stuff we've seen. And Landy actually made a video on the Aerith that we see in that last trailer. And like it kind of got me thinking like, well, like it would kind of make sense if like these are like this is like the live stream, or like it's and the live stream is like projecting them, or like they're from the, you know what I mean? Like I don't really know how to make sense of it, but as we are watching more of the trailers and getting closer, like that is starting to make more sense instead of just like timelines or like world lines or whatever the heck you want to call it. Although I say this every time I'm talking about FF7 Rebirth, I am a believer in the merging of the timelines, that Cloud in the timeline that Cloud and company are in, and Zach and wherever the heck he is, there's going to be some kind of reunion. You know? Because like it just so Yeah, I don't know if that's the hopium in me, but I've been a believer of that, and I kind of want to see it, and I don't care if it's like fan service here or not, because not all fan service is bad. So, I mean, yeah, I'm kind of like, I go back and forth between what Lance was saying and then just with what people were saying about multiple timelines, world lines, whatever it is. Like, I don't know, but at the same time, I'm just kind of like, we're 4 days away. Like, everything will be
find out
known.
soon. Yeah.
Like, we're gonna know
Find out
sooner or
soon.
later what's going on. But yeah, do you guys think we will? So this is something that I was kind of thinking of, but do you guys think we'll actually have Zach segments in Rebirth, or do you think we're gonna have like an expansion like we did with Yuffie?
Do you want to know what I think or what I want?
Both.
I
know.
think.
We already know what you want. Tell me what you think.
Okay. So
No, I'm kidding.
I think we're gonna have a little bit. I don't think it's going to be very big or very long, but he's on the cover for a reason.
Yep.
And I think we're going to at least have a few moments where we do play as Zach.
I agree.
I'm with Kitties. Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mhm.
I don't think it's going to be like,
It's not going to be huge. It's not going to be like half the game or anything. But I think it's going to be a little bit.
It's going to be enough to, just give us.
It's going to make me. It's going to be enough to make me sob. But
I love how Andy was up in the camera with Zach's face. Like,
I know, right? Like, what a great shirt.
Yeah.
Just in time. Yeah, so I'm hearing the stream is glitching a little bit, so I was just trying to tamper with a few things on the back end to help it out. But I think we're doing better now. From what I can see on my monitor.
How dare she?
I guess all the Zach love was just a little too much for the stream to handle.
I know it's the whispers. They don't want us talking about Zach. They don't want it to happen.
I'm here. You invited me. You knew what you were getting.
Oh, on the subject of whispers, I'm super excited to see more of them. I think they're a really, really clever inclusion in this, because anything that's remade is always doomed to be compared to its original counterpart, especially if you're going to do one-to-one. If they did everything exactly the same, the only thing you can do is compare it to the original, but including them is very interesting. I've heard so many different theories. I don't know what to make of them, but having played through the hard mode of remake, sorry, I get it mixed up, very recently, I've tried to write down every time I see the whispers and how it compares to OG and be like, they happen to show up when there's new stuff. Like stuff that was in the OG, they're the whispers.
Yeah, because they're trying to steer the party and the player on the path of like, no, like this wasn't supposed to happen. Like Jessie wasn't supposed to fall down the stairs in Seventh Heaven and bust her leg. Like that's not supposed to happen, because they show up during that scene. They show up during, and this is what I thought was interesting, but they show up during when the moment where the plate falls, because like Biggs and Jessie are supposed to die there, but they're there, and so it's like that was what was throwing me off. Was like, wait, why are they here? But like everything is playing out as it should play out. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So there are moments where I'm like, okay, that makes sense, because this is all new stuff. So like that's why they would be here, because they're trying to like, it's the meta of, well, we're trying to make sure you guys aren't like deviating from like the path, and but also there's moments where I'm like, wait, why are they here? I don't know if you guys have ever, this is such a weird comparison. Do you guys know what the Stanley Parable is?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the game. I only know the game.
Yeah. So the whispers kind of remind me of the narrator in the Stanley Parable, but they don't say anything. Like the whispers don't say anything, but in the Stanley Parable, it's kind of like a play on just like, just making fun of like how like you choose to like play a video game. So like in like, how a game tells you, oh, like you need to go this direction, but like in your head you're like, but I want to explore what's over here. So like in the Stanley Parable, the narrator will be like, oh, Stanley took the door on his left, but if you go to the right, the narrator's going to be like, what? And then he's gonna like kind of change, and then he's gonna kind of adapt, but then he's gonna be like, okay, Stanley, like you weren't supposed to go this way. So I feel like the Whispers are kind of like it's a weird comparison, but that's just what I was thinking of. Like they're guiding us the way that things should go. But now at this point, because, you know, the first trailer posed, like, what's Sephiroth's endgame? Because this game is about Sephiroth. I don't care what anybody says. It's about Sephiroth. Remake, Sephiroth was remaking things. Rebirth, somebody is being reborn. I don't know if that's like Cloud, you know, giving Sephiroth the black materia, like in the OG, or like if that's what that refers to, or if that refers to like other things, Genesis, I don't know, but things are.
Gimme.
It's about Sephiroth, and at the end of the remake, what happened to the Whispers? Sephiroth absorbed them, so he has full control of how this story plays out.
Yeah, and I'm very curious as to what sourced the Whispers in the first place. Something happened. There was an event that caused Whispers to be. And I want to know what that is, and I wonder if Rebirth touches on that. And actually, I got to chapter 17 yesterday in hard mode, and I noticed a cutscene where it plays essentially the end of Crisis Core. The price of freedom is steep.
Mm-hmm.
And Whispers are at Midgar.
Swarming.
And I'm like,
yeah. And
I don't think they
large
included
number.
those. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think they included those in the Crisis Core remakester. I call it a remakester.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to like, were they there then? In the scene, like a few cutscenes prior to it, when they're in the president's office and the Whispers show up and save a particular character who I don't think would have met their end in OG. I don't know.
Well,
have there been some scenes like from remake, like kind of almost showing that? I thought they were like, I don't know.
Well, guys, the moment that you're thinking of with that character that the Whisper saved, that happened because that character was not supposed to die there.
Right.
So but it is interesting because like, well, Zach is alive, like, you know, but I think what I'm thinking is, because the Whispers, you see the Whispers in the flashback, and you see like the whole, like shot for shot from a Crisis Core, like that scene. But then whenever it shows him alive, I believe that's after their battle with Sephiroth, after he absorbs them. So now that the Whispers are in Sephiroth's control, maybe this is what Sephiroth wants. Maybe he wants Zack alive in this other timeline, as he should. In this other's timeline, whether it's something he wants to do with the live stream, whatever it is, I actually think that Zack wants this. Because if everything plays out exactly the same as the original, Sephiroth loses. So what can Sephiroth do different this time around? If this is like Advent Children Sephiroth, as like a lot of us have been theorizing, or like a different version of Sephiroth, what can he do different this time around? Especially now that he has full control of fate itself. And that's what I would like to think.
That's fascinating. Do you think that Sephiroth wants Zack alive because he's got the Genova cells in him and he wants those for
maybe?
I think there's a few reasons.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Maybe.
I think there's a few reasons. I think that's part of it, but I think there's a lot more to it.
Yeah.
Well, because also
tell me why.
Well, because Cloud never becomes who Cloud is without becoming Zack's legacy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good point.
Makes it easier to
he doesn't. And who is the biggest thorn in Sephiroth's side in the first game? It's Cloud. You know what I mean? That, and he and Zack are besties. Come on.
I'm gonna provide
I think
an alternative.
that's the bigger reason, but I think the Genova cells certainly would have something to do with it.
Yeah.
What if Zack is actually an immunoresponse from the planet? Right? Because Andy, you bring up a good point. The Whispers typically preserve the original events, but they didn't do that with Zack. And we know the Whispers are connected to the planet, yet they were like, this one gets a pass, right?
Well, I'm wondering.
I'm wondering if it's actually.
Yeah.
I think like
it's
guys,
the planets.
guys, you asked like, what brought the Whispers here? What triggered this? I think it's literally Sephiroth messing with the timeline. Sephiroth messing with everything. That made the planet go, okay, I have to make a response to that. And then when Sephiroth is about to absorb the Whispers in the Singularity, they took it to the next level. They're like, all right, we can only rely on Zack. Because, if you followed the original events,
because
he becomes
now,
a Guardian.
Well,
he's a weapon.
He's a weapon.
Yeah, and with the Whispers, not acting on the accord that they should be acting on with like keeping things in check now, it's like the restrictions, the limiters are taken off. So now the planet itself can actually fight back and use people like Zack, use people like Jesse and Biggs even to combat and counter what Sephiroth is doing. Because like that's the thing. Again, even back to the first trailer where we said earlier, they're asking, what is Sephiroth's end game? If you play the original, you know what his end game is, but why would they ask that question again? Because it's going to be different this time around. And so it's going to be interesting because I think you guys are onto something with the planet. It's the planet's response. Even at the end of the OG, it was the planet with Holy being cast that saved the world. It was the life stream. And so it's funny because it's always like, it's always like Cloud versus Sephiroth, but it's really like the planet versus Sephiroth, like at the end of it.
Or really the planet versus Genova.
The planet versus Genova, that's a better way to put it, yeah.
Aerith is like the stand-in for the planet, and Sephiroth is like the stand-in for Genova.
The stand-in for Genova. It's beautiful.
The fake ancient. It's an interesting paradigm.
The more I hear about Sephiroth being tied to the Whispers, the more I believe it, because just watching back the late game cutscenes where Aerith looks at Sephiroth and says, everything is wrong about you. Like she knows about Sephiroth, like maybe more than we thought she did in OG. Obviously she was aware of him. But like
she's aware of the events of the OG. She has to be.
Yeah.
Because she is connected to the planet. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yep.
I have some speculation about something. So, has anyone is Doug's low on the table to talk about? Has anyone played Doug's?
I've watched the cutscenes, but basically,
okay.
I've seen
this speculation is not. It's not speculation.
I know the things.
Okay, this is speculation. It's not like a theory or anything like that. But at the end of Doug, the secret ending of Doug's is a Genesis recovering Feist's body, right? And he's like, "Oh, we got much work to do." Right? Like at the end of Doug's, nothing at the end of that game makes me think, right? What would come after Doug's? Nothing. Like I don't think anything was really nothing, in my opinion, to tell after the story of Doug's. And it makes me wonder if what Genesis is talking about is connected to the Whispers. Since there's really nothing really talk about after Doug's. Again, that's speculation. It's not like a theory or anything like that, but it makes me like when I think about that secret ending of Doug's, it's like, what could they possibly be foreshadowing and telling like after that game?
Also, remember, Dirge came out before Crisis Core. Genesis's first appearance is technically at the end of Dirge.
Yeah.
Which is kind of in a secret ending.
Yeah.
It's kind of nuts to think about. And again, so much
do
of
you
the
think
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, do you think, I guess playing off of Genesis, like do you think we're gonna like Minerva is gonna have like some kind of role in all of this as well?
I think she might be the one feeding Aerith the information. It's possible. If I were to find a place for her in the story, I would think maybe that's it.
Yeah. Because I feel like they're gonna bring everybody in at some point. Like everything is gonna be this is going to be the Final Fantasy VII experience at the end of the day. And I feel like at some point, like they are going to incorporate every single character, even like Minerva. I think I've always been indifferent about Genesis on my feelings of him. Like I think he's a cool character, but also I'm kind of just like, whatever. But I think
you must not have liked the theater kids when you were in high school.
love
No,
Genesis.
I was friends with all the theater kids. I just wasn't a theater kid myself. But I'm just wondering because like, dude, the thing that like has been on my mind ever since they revealed the name Rebirth is the logo. Because the logo has a dawning red on Rebirth, and I'm like the only other person outside of Genesis that I could think of with that color scheme would be Vincent, but that wouldn't make sense for Vincent. You know what I mean?
I used to think Genesis, but now I think it's Aerith.
I guess Aerith makes sense. Yep,
Zach's
that makes more sense.
That's how this ends.
That's interesting.
I think she's reborn.
It always
in
gave
Zach's
me
world.
just Phoenix energy because the Phoenix summon is all about rebirth, or just the Phoenix in general.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll see everybody in this trilogy because I don't know if everyone who saw like the Advent Children, like they had like an interview, and Amoa made a point to mention that they wanted to try and incorporate everybody from the compilation in the trilogy at some point.
Yes.
So I expect to see everybody at some point. Maybe not Rebirth, but at least by Young Power 3, I expect to see everybody in some sort of capacity.
Yeah. I'm just so excited to see Cisne again. Like,
Me too.
Andy, I loved your reaction.
That blew my mind.
Andy,
Best
I
character.
loved your reaction to the Cisne. I watched it like 3 times.
I'm like, dude, first of all, if we are going to see Cisne anywhere, it's going to be Gungaga. And that's where they were at, like, clearly with the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, like, it just makes sense. So I'm just really excited that they're actually doing something that I want. Like, I want it. I mean, we all wanted to. You know, but in the moment, I was also, I don't know if it was me, but like, did her hair look more red?
Yeah, because she's.
I just like, I didn't know if it was me or like, I was
now.
like,
she's not in smoky mid.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of like brownish hair with red undertones looks a lot redder in sunlight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can atone for that. It does. But I'm just so curious to know what her real name is. I don't know if you guys have theories on this at all, but I want to know.
But
I mean, I can't find anything to figure out her real name. Shinra did a good job covering that up. But I think the craziest thing about her reveal is like she knows who Cloud is. She's gonna say something. Yeah. She doesn't have the know-how.
She says,
Aerith and Tifa do.
She has. Yeah, and so that's also what I'm curious about because like the trailer really piqued my interest. Whatever she was like, you, and I'm like, oh, like she knows, you know. And I wonder if it's just because, yeah. So, yeah.
It's exciting stuff.
He's going.
It's exciting stuff. Out. I mean, she set up.
He's going to figure the fuck out.
He is, and Zach's parents are going to be somewhere in that neighborhood, and just like imagine you see, because like, and this is something about the whole remake trilogy that can amplify the original. Is in the original. You walk into Zach's house, you see his parents, and you don't think anything of it, right? Because they're just these little boxy polygons. But imagine you walk in and you just see like dad bod Zach, and like Cloud might make a connection, like Aerith might, something might tweak in his head, like, hey, that guy kind of looks like X, you know? It's stuff like that I think can make this Gungaga so much more interesting. Because it really is, I think you can skip it in the original.
You can.
It's optional.
It's optional. I always go. Gotta say hi to Zach's parents.
Oh,
gotta say hi
Absolutely.
to them.
Kind of a fun question. Who are you guys taking on the gold saucer date?
Tifa.
I want it to be Aerith.
I'm 100% taking Yuffie.
Forget it. I'm taking Barrett. I gotta do first time Barrett.
I'm taking Barrett. Me too.
Man, because in the original, it was me and Tifa. Like Tifa was my girl, but like, man, if I could take my dog with me, I'm taking my dog, bro. Like, I think I'm gonna go for dude. There's something so wonderful just about a dude and his dog, man. Like, I think, yeah.
You should see.
But I am really.
Andy, when you have a minute, check out Yoshitaka Amano's concept art for FF7. He was obsessed with this dynamic of Cloud and Red, and he made this amazing piece of Cloud and Red. It's so good.
You might have to send that to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just so I'm just like wondering. I'm not going to do this in my playthrough, but I really want to know what a date with Kate Sith looks like in the in the Gold Saucer, dude. If I get Kate Sith, I'm uninstalling the game. I'm sorry, it's not happening. I'm going to restart my entire run. Like, Kate Sith is my least favorite character. Like, I like Reeve, but like just the idea of Kate Sith, I'm just like, I don't know. It's kind of like whatever, and I get it because like. Kate Sith is just a projection of Reeve, and Reeve is just doing what he can to help the company, like to help Cloud and company, because he's very restricted by Shinra. So I love that, but like, I just think Kate Sith is just silly. Like, I don't know. It's just me.
Well, I guess Rebirth
But
has
I
an
get it.
opportunity to make him really cool, right? Because we don't. I mean, I don't remember much in OG, like looking at what Kate Sith does in terms of.
I never use them except in Corel, like, or in the prison. Like, that was it. Never use them in my party.
I'm kind of terrified to find out like what choices we have to make for the date and any other like deviations to the story, kind of like how the dresses were in remake.
Starters don't go through Tifa's underwear for a start.
I totally did that.
You asshole.
I was unapologetic about it too. You went through my stuff, yes. Obviously.
Well, so I think something that they touched on. I think it was in that presentation that they did. But there's going to be like a bond mechanic, and so like you could see like how like you could see your Cloud's affinity with each character based off of like your choices that you make and things like that. So I think you'll be able to. I don't think it'll be a shock to you, you know, like, oh, I don't know who I'm gonna get, you know, but I think also at the same time, you know, what if like you max out everybody? Like, how does it, like, do you get to choose?
Yeah.
You know, is it like Persona 5 where you get to choose like who to romance, you know? And
That'd be so cool.
Yeah, so I don't know.
That'd be so cool. I would love to choose. That'd be fun. But I wouldn't mind the element of surprise either. I'd be like, oh my god, I'm on a date with Kate Sith. I did not expect that. Okay, let's go.
All right, and 0 out of 10. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
All right.
It would be kind of funny though, because then Kate Sith could just be like, so here's all of Shinra's dirty secrets. And it's just like, you know, like that's just the date. I don't know. Just try to think of what that was.
I'm excited to see how different the date's going to look though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's
because
happening much
I think
later
the
in the
reason.
story now. That's the crazy thing about the Gold Saucer. It got pushed back really far into sort of the canonical events. Like that, if you're looking at an event that's the most out of order by Whisper standards, Golden Saucer's like the smoking gun. I did not use that term correctly, but you get my point.
Well, you go to the Gold Saucer a couple of times.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So, but I guess like with because the date happens the second time you go back, I think. But I guess also with the pacing of the original, like it's just go, go, go. The original's go, go, go. Like you're in one place and then you're in the next. But with this game, it really is going to. I'm looking forward to like that's something that I'm really looking forward to because it is going to be a journey and it's like a fun thing, you know. It's not even like a super serious thing, but it's like, oh, like we're here, like the Gold Saucer, like this is fun, and then and then everything goes downhill from there. You know, to say the least.
Such a big sense of arrival when we get to the big places in Rebirth because the open world is so much larger on scale. You know, you can take 10 steps and you're in Gold Saucer or you're in Junon, whereas the open world's going to feel like a lot larger.
Yeah.
You're going to feel the depth of it and be like, oh, we're finally at Gold Saucer or we're finally at Junon.
The journey.
What location are you guys most excited to like visit in Rebirth?
Cosmo Canyon for me.
Same.
I feel like my answer's obvious, but go Gaga.
Same.
Cosmo Canyon for me too.
Yeah, Cosmo Canyon
that
for me.
outside of the Forgotten Capital,
Yeah.
that was the moment
Oh
that
yeah,
really
yeah. Apart
got
from that,
me.
yeah.
Yeah,
Apart
like
from
that
that.
was the moment that got me good in the feels. So I'm looking forward to that.
I can't
I'm
wait to hear. I can't wait to hear 7 seconds to the end again when we go to Forgotten Capital. Because that music is just peak.
Mm-hmm.
I love that so much. I'm just ready to cry again of like Red 13's story because I really like that part of Cosmo Canyon, and I think even like some of the music, because I just love like the soundtrack of Seven so much as well. And one thing I really love about Remake is like you hear like the songs from Seven but just like, you know, redone, and it's really really special. So I'm very curious to like hear how like the theme for Cosmo Canyon is going to be, and then the planetarium music is like some of my favorite music of the entire game as well. So yeah, Cosmo Canyon is, I don't even think we're seeing, I mean, I might be wrong because I didn't watch the final trailer, but from what I've seen so far, I've barely seen anything with Cosmo Canyon. So that's definitely my top pick, I think, for the like location I'm excited for the most.
We've seen cutscenes that take place there, but not like the actual like canyon.
Actual, yeah. Oh, okay, cool.
I'm also, while we're on like the topic of Cosmic Canyon, because I'm just thinking of Red 13, I see why they got Max Middleman to voice him, because there's that moment in the final trailer where the girls are like, "What do you think?" and he slips into the kid voice, and I love that, because in the original he has those moments where he does act like a kid because he is a kid, you know, but he projects himself as like, you know, I am no lab dog, but then there are those moments. Yeah, but there is those moments in the original where he acts like a kid, so I'm actually really excited to see if Max, you know, if he actually does, whenever he's voicing some of the lines, if he does go between the two voices, you know.
I reckon he could.
Yeah.
He's
Oh, absolutely he could.
yeah.
Yeah. He's like
His
perfect
skills,
for it.
yeah, his skills are mind blowing. Like when you think of like
Mhm.
some of the roles he's done, and you compare it to Red, like the deeper tone of Red 13. I'm like, wow, dude.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was him at first, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? It sounds like nothing like
Yeah,
him. Like that's so
yeah,
impressive." But now I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I get it." Because
yeah.
Red 13 is a kid, and Max definitely has like that voice that could portray that. So it's gonna be fun to see him potentially go back and forth between like those voices, maybe. Even if it's just like a small like, huh? You know, like in the trailer. But
Huh?
That was good.
Oh,
Who wants to start? Ladies first, honestly.
Kitties, do you want to go first?
What? This is so much a prediction as just what I want. And I
On
think
the
I've said
table.
it before, but I think it'd be really funny, really cool, really mean, but I would enjoy it. If the moment that we all know is going to happen starts to happen, and as the sword comes down, it just goes to black. Credits roll.
That's literally
I think
kind of
that
where
would
I'm
be
at too.
so great, so funny,
That
so
would
mean.
be terrible.
It would be so bad, and I want
It would
it.
be terrible.
It would hurt so good.
Uh,
I'm into. I'm in like 50-50. I feel like yes, they would do that, but then I also
I
feel
don't
like
think they'll do that.
I don't think they
I don't
would.
think
No.
they
I
will.
absolutely don't think they would.
Yeah.
That's just me
No.
wanting something ridiculous that would put everyone in pain and anticipation until the next game.
I think like I do think they're gonna kill her. I do think
so
they're
too.
gonna do it.
I
I think I'd
think
be more surprised if they didn't.
looking at the history of what 7 Remake is, everything that happened in the original happened in the remake. It's like pretty faithful to the original. I think we're still going to see the same events take place, although it might look different. Like, and here's, I don't know if I want to say I think this is going to happen, but Lance and I were talking about this when he came to visit. So, and I think I brought this up before with Landy and Kitties, but I think it'd be wild if when Sephiroth takes control of Cloud, if then like instead of Cloud actually being able to hold back, Cloud's the one who kills Aerith, and then the merger of the timelines or whatever, or the live stream happens, and Zach's there to witness it. And now you get you have a choice: do you play as Cloud or Zach? And then there's there's an alternate ending, like if you play as Zach or something and you beat Cloud, or like there's like a fight that happens. I think that would be wild. I don't think they would do that, but I played around with that idea in my head, and that would be something that would absolutely destroy me, because there's already emotions like overflowing in that moment, and then whenever if you give somebody a choice like that, it's like, come on, you can't do that to me. That's so mean. But
it would hurt so good. I kind of want that.
Yeah. So, but I think there could be a possibility that Cloud accidentally kills her. You know. And,
I think
because like I think that moment is so iconic. Like it's such an iconic moment, that whole bit. Like they're probably, I can imagine that they're gonna want to do it, but also do it a bit differently to make us feel, you know, sad again, but in a different way.
Think about how bad. Think about how bad that would mess with Cloud, because Sephiroth's goal is to just mess with Cloud, right? That's not his end game, obviously, but that's a big part of like what Sephiroth does. Think about how bad that would mess with Cloud, and think about like how difficult it would be for him to overcome that kind of guilt, you know.
It's funny because after watching Advent Children for the first time, I interpreted that scene as Cloud doing the deed, even in OG. I know that's not what's shown, but Jenova's the agent behind that. Jenova wants Aerith dead. Sephiroth could care less. Jenova's the acting force in wanting Aerith dead, and Jenova's both in Sephiroth and Cloud. Maybe not my expectation, but my hope is that Cloud is the one to do the deed, and the player has to take the action.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh god.
I've talked to Landy about this before. I think it's gonna hurt more if we have to do it.
Absolutely.
That's what I mean. Like I reckon they're gonna try and do something a little bit different, but still give us that iconic scene, but just amplify it more, because I reckon they're gonna want to tell the same thing, but hurt us in a way we haven't been hurt yet. I think they're looking for something like that.
I feel like they're gonna fake us out during that scene. I feel like
100%.
There's gonna be so many fake outs in this game.
They're gonna give us the hope that it doesn't happen. They're gonna build it up the entire game, and they're like, "Oh, maybe we can change fate. Like all this stuff is happening. We can change. We can change." Still plays out the same way.
What could be kind of cool, and this would be very Crisis Core-esque, but what if it's not that we have to? What if they like are forcing us to try to stop ourselves from doing it, but just like in Crisis Core, no matter how hard we fight, we can't.
Oh my god.
That would be amazing.
I like that a lot.
And then you watch it happen.
Yeah. Or they give you like a choice, like a spare or kill choice, but it might not be as obvious as like spare or kill, whatever. Like, because like, what if you hit spare, and then, not saying that like Cloud would do it on purpose, but again, like it's, if he was controlled, but like you as a player, you're fighting, and it's like, do I relinquish control or do I keep fighting on? And it's like a spare or kill scenario. But even if you chose to like the spare option, Sephiroth still comes and kills her. You know what I mean? Like, I think she dies either way in that scenario. And I think like, I also think that she knows that she has to die, which is why in Remake she says, Cloud, don't fall in love with me. And not only that, but like even just whenever those moments that she gets monotone and it is so serious, especially at the very end before like the whole chapter 18 shenanigans go down, like she knows that she has to die, because that is why they were even able to stop Sephiroth at the end, because of Holy, because of the white materia, because of the like. So I think she knows she has to. I think she's going to. I don't know if it's going to play out exactly the same. But, all I'm saying is, like, I want it to be... I kind of want it to be graphic. Like, I ain't going to lie to you. Like, I want to hurt, but I also want to, like... I want it to feel real. You know what I mean?
I
And
want
not
it to be
just
like in the demo when Sephiroth like impales
yes,
that
yeah.
guy. It needs to be like that. Does that be because I don't want I don't really want the smoky like whisper shit like that comes out.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
want to see blood.
Or the purple Genova goo or whatever the heck that was. Yeah.
It's weird because in remake when Sephiroth kills President Shinra, it's the whisper stuff coming out of his sword. I didn't really see any blood.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like I don't know if that was like if there was creative significance to that or if that's just an aesthetical choice that
Well,
we just
listen,
didn't want to show blood.
the
That was a
limiters
choice,
are off.
alright.
The limiters are off, guys. Sephiroth has control of the whispers. There's gonna be blood.
Yeah.
There will be blood.
I think it's possible Cloud dies too.
Mm.
But because of the merging of worlds, the rules of life and death become blurred, which would be a nightmare because FF7 is about life and death. But in this merging of worlds, so here's how here's how I kind of see it playing out. I don't think the game ends right after that scene. I think after that scene, that triggers the end game because there's going to be something this time around where Aerith's death is like crucial to the merger of worlds, right? Because Sephiroth wouldn't be so dumb as to just kill Aerith again just for Holy to be sent out. There would have to be now a caveat, something different where it triggers something. I could see her getting killed, waking up in Zack's world, and whatever Zack's world is, and I have a theory about it, I'll get into that in a minute. If Sephiroth can kill Aerith there too, then she's gone. I think just like the world the party is in is run by the live stream, the planet, this other world, I think is Genova's world, where she's the live stream, she's the planet, and the merger of worlds gives Genova what she wants. She's fully infiltrated now. She eliminates the ancients because, guys, as you were getting into, she's the one who hates Aerith because she despises the ancients. Like you see it in OG when Cloud succumbs to her influence, he is brutally attacking her with his fists. Like, and that's Genova. Genova has that disdain, that animosity towards Aerith and the ancients. So I think what Genova wants is this world merger so that she now becomes one with the life stream. That's the ultimate thing, the ultimate infiltration. She infiltrated the ancients, she infiltrated Shinra, but she's going for the life stream. The life stream is what stopped her the first time. Now she's like, well, you know what? Now I am the life stream. The reunion, merger. That's how I see it playing out.
I was actually going to ask because I just remembered. What are your thoughts about like Sephiroth showing up in Zack's
he killed Aerith once. He's gonna go do it again.
Yeah, like is that Zack or I'm sorry, is that Sephiroth like hopping world lines or timelines or whatever it is, or is that like
he can manifest
a different version of
Sephiroth?
Sephiroth?
Memory of him. That's the thing.
Yeah,
he's able to manifest himself that way. Because this is what's interesting. Lifestream White and Lifestream Black in the novels, they explain how Sephiroth was able to come back in Advent Children. But what it cost him was his memories. He gave up his memories of Genesis, of Angeal, of all of that. But he clung to Cloud. And he uses Cloud in turn to bring himself back. I think the same thing's going to happen to Aerith. Because in Lifestream White, she observes in the Lifestream, I can revive myself. I can do it. But what it would cost me is everything I am. Now, remember in Remake where she's like, every time the whispers touch me, I lose a piece of who I am. I feel like this is happening right before our eyes and we don't even know it.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
What's this? Does Lifestream White and Lifestream Black in the novels?
Yes. Let me see. Which
That's
exact
interesting.
novel was it?
Yeah, that is interesting because it makes sense.
On the Way to a Smile. That's the novel.
Yeah, it makes sense in the realm of Final Fantasy VII and what's possible. and especially because like I actually didn't know that about Sephiroth, like because I never read that, so like I didn't know like that, but it makes sense because he's so, in Advent Children he's so cloud focused, not that he wasn't before, but yeah, like it makes sense, and that could even be like why. I mean, Landy, you've got that theory about the other Aerith. Like, I don't know if that falls in line with what you're talking about as well.
I feel like that ultimately is a meta decision from the devs. I don't think it being the original Aerith or not being the original Aerith would have much of an effect. I think that's more on them. What I guess what I'm trying to say is I half believe my own theory. I think it's possible, but there's still a few missing blanks there before I fully buy in. But I think it would be interesting because Square Enix has gotten very meta over the last decade when you look at Nier, Kingdom Hearts, stuff like that. So it wouldn't be shocking to me because it's so funny to listen to the devs in interviews talk about how the amount of letters that were written to Square Enix, people saying, you got to make it so you could revive Aerith. You got to make it so you could bring Aerith back. Like, people wrote letters wanting Aerith back. Maybe they found a way to answer those letters. I don't know. It's just a theory. But I'll tell you this, the ending's going to piss some people off. Because they're going to do something wacky.
It's likely to be the most divisive game in the history of RPG.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's like The Last of Us Part 2 all over again. Like, people were so divisive about The Last of Us Part 2. I'm not going to get into it, but it's going to be more than that.
Yeah.
Just because the fan base is so huge.
Well, even just with Kingdom Hearts 3 too, like that game. I mean, I think just the game overall was very divisive, like just in more ways than one. But yeah, there are going to be people. I mean, and you're going to have this with any video game, but like there are going to be people who aren't going to like how things go or like certain things about it. But I feel like, especially with the loud minority of toxic people in the FF7 community on a little website called Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. Like, and I say loud minority because genuinely, like, a lot of people in the community I think are awesome, to be honest. Like, that's like, you guys are here. You guys are awesome. But like, there's going to be a very loud minority of people who are going to make themselves known and voice like how bad this game is because it wasn't what they wanted. But that's going to happen with any game that comes out. But it will, I feel like with this game, because people were already upset with things being different with a remake, like, it's funny because it's like, I feel like, it's funny because the people who are upset with like remake being different, they're the same people that they will want things to play out exactly the same, but they also might have like, there's those people also, I've seen it before, like they'll also be like, but wait, like, why was it the same? And it's like, well, this is what you wanted. Like, wait, like, what do you expect? I don't know. It's like, what do you expect? I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be very divisive.
I'm going to try not to tangent too much about this, but this sort of relating to what you said, Andy, but a couple of weeks ago, I went to a masterclass with Yoshinori Kitase. He presented a masterclass about the evolution of 7 to Rebirth.
That's awesome.
And it was amazing. It was amazing to hear his own words about it. So there was a question that was like brought up about like, why did you decide to remake 7 in the first place? And he basically, I'm going to try and quote this as best as I can because now my memory is getting faded as the weeks go on. But he basically was like, back in like 1997, there was only so much they can do with like the PS1, the console, the technology, and they want to have the story be told for generations beyond us because they love it so much and they're really inspired by leaving a legacy because he has like a son who he wants to pass on the story onto, and a lot of people like in our generation or below might not gravitate towards playing the original 7, but there's so much that they visioned for the original story of 7 that they're like, now we have the chance to really put out what we visioned.
We see that vision realized.
So it's one of those things that's like, yeah, things might be changed, but you don't know if that was originally what they wanted to do 20 years ago or not.
They also kind
you
of said
know?
that at the beginning of the Advent
In,
Children.
yeah, in the interview, I was just gonna say they definitely said that.
Yep,
and
they
I
did.
think they've been saying that for a while. Like this is the story that they've always wanted to tell, because they were very limited by just hardware,
Mhm.
and so I mean, you could see the original as its own thing, and you could still see the original as like this is its own thing, separate from what the remake trilogy is. But I really feel like that after the remake trilogy is finished, that is going to be the definitive way to experience Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, yeah. I think they want that. I think
Mhm.
they actually generally want that as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm like on board. I'm like, yeah, if they add new things to it, it's like it is their vision at the end of the day,
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
so
I also
Yeah.
think that everything they've added so far have only made me like the series more.
Same.
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
Yep.
yeah,
I
Yep.
haven't been disappointed with anything that was added.
Mhm.
yeah, I agree.
I think it's meant to enhance.
Yes.
Well,
And I
Midgar went
think
from a tutorial to an entire 40-hour RPG, which,
And it was
I'm
Yeah.
not upset
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
that. I'm really not.
yeah.
But I think
How
that's
long do you
one-
think this one will be?
I think the campaign will probably take people 40, 50 hours, but I think there's a lot more gameplay than that locked into this game.
Yeah.
And probably
Much
more to
bigger
come with
world.
DLC.
Naturally going to take you longer to get the places because you have points of interest now, and so you're going to want to explore and do side quests. But I actually don't think they are going to add as much as they added in remake in this game, because like they are covering so much ground from
Right.
Calm to the Forgotten City, and to have all of that in there, you'll be able to they'll be able to add little stuff. I think the majority of what they're adding is going to be in the side content. Like that is where like all of the extra stuff's going to come in, outside of like Cisne being in Gungaga, which honestly, like, I feel like will just seamlessly play into the story anyway. Like I don't even feel like that's going to be a whole like extra thing. It's just going to seamlessly play into like how, like, maybe what they always wanted to do. But I think most of the stuff that they're adding is going to be side content outside of that, and maybe Roche, honestly. But
Roche.
Forgot about Roche.
and you know what's crazy?
That would break his heart.
I feel like in that trailer, I feel like we are starting to see that decline, right? Because he's starting to go a little bit crazy, which is awesome. Because we've been talking about that for a while, of like, and I think Landy's the one who brought it up, that like Roche is like a Sephiroth clone, like one of like the reunion Sephiroth clones, and you're gonna start to see his decline as the game goes on. And I feel like now we're starting to see him go a little bit crazy, because now, just as Sephiroth has an obsession with Cloud, Roche is also starting to have that obsession with Cloud.
That's why
That's
he
interesting.
doesn't even need to just be
Really?
a clone. He could just have the S gene. If he's just a soldier who was
Yeah.
given the S gene,
Right.
that explains a lot of his behavior and his
Everything.
obsession with Cloud. And that would be cool too, because again, we would see, they mention it in remake, right? You boys made a choice, a normal life or power. Every soldier knows the truth. The degradation's a real thing. It would really mess with Cloud to have to witness that. Like, again, you just talk about all these ways Jenova can mess with Cloud. Can really break him. Also, so how do we think about him attacking Tifa? Let's talk about that. Anybody?
That would break me, I think.
Anybody?
That would break me.
Originally, I thought, okay, maybe he's being influenced by Jenova, like the Jenova cells. But then I remembered, I think, Landy, what you said during, I think it was like a stream or a podcast or something, that there are moments where like Jenova will pose as like different people. So like, in that moment, it didn't feel like it. Yeah, in that moment it didn't feel like it, but like I don't know, because Tifa seemed pretty dang convincing of like Cloud, like
Genova,
do not
bro.
attack me.
That's
But
Genova.
I know, like Genova's getting to me. Genova's getting to me, dude. Seriously, I was convinced. Yeah. So I don't know.
And Cloud has blood on his face. They didn't show it in the first trailer. They showed it, but he has blood on his face, which means like he just chopped somebody. There was no blood in Remake, but they're not compromising for this. There was blood on his face. So he's going after Tifa, but he already went after someone else. There's already battle on his face. I don't know.
It could have just been like another soldier, right?
Yeah.
You know, because there's I think we've seen that that shot that we saw in the trailer. I feel like we've seen that in other trailers, like even with like Tifa falling into whatever she's falling into, her swimming in like I don't even know what that green
Live
stuff
stream.
is, whether it's like the live stream. That's what I thought it was, but like I think that's all that same scene. So which is why I don't think that would be Genova posing as Tifa or something like that. I feel like, but there's obviously Genova is at work doing something.
I'm kind of in the middle. I think it could be. I also think it might not be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know
Well,
is that he does pose as Tifa in the original at some point. So.
Genova aside,
Yeah.
Cloud's got his own baggage outside of Genova. He's real messed up in the head with all the trauma he's had to deal with for the past 5+ years with Zack and everything. So, I mean, it might just be Cloud lashing out because he's really confused and said, you know, maybe he thinks, "Oh, you're not Tifa. I haven't seen Tifa in 5 years," or something like that. I hope they don't pull any punches though.
How they fake us out in that scene? Like imagine if he like impales Tifa, and it like turns into like a Genova. It turns into like a Genova thing that that just like collapses, and then Tifa and the real Tifa shows up right after that.
See, this
So
is
you know what that made me.
That'd be wild.
I was gonna say, you know what that made me think of? You know, in the last trailer where like Cloud does run towards Sephiroth and it looks like he like stabs him, and then Sephiroth, I don't remember what he whispers in his ear, but it's like that moment that is now So is that actually, what if that's like Sephiroth posing as somebody, but like Cloud sees Sephiroth? What if Cloud like actually killed somebody there? You know?
Possible.
This is like we were talking about ways you can make the player really feel the pain. Like imagine like you have to fight a Genova just posing as Tifa, and you got to drive your sword through Tifa. You know it's Genova, but it still hurts to fight someone who looks like Tifa, someone who looks like Aerith, Barrett, you name it. I would love it because it's all about getting Cloud to not trust his own perceptions. What is reality? What is fiction? Just again, like you're saying, Andy, that could have been Cloud stabbing someone else, and then he's like, I can't even trust what I'm looking at anymore. It would drive him nuts.
I think there's going to be mind games. I think we're going to be having as a player. I think there's like no, there's a certain part of a demo that I played. I don't know if it's part of the demo that's come out or not, but like even an experience that I had where Cloud and the crew were like at Nibelheim in the past, and you see Cloud like have Zack's mannerisms and stuff. It's
so weird.
Creepy. It's creepy.
It's creepy.
It's weird for me because I'm like, oh my god, no, Cloud would never.
Cloud would never.
Is it weird though?
Yes,
is it weird?
It is. It is weird.
It is.
Because he doesn't act like that now.
I mean, well,
even when he's trying to act,
because it's not Cloud. Like it's not Cloud. Yeah. It is. I get it though. It is weird, like seeing that, but like, yeah. I mean, we all know that that's not Cloud.
Mm.
Yeah,
but it is funny, like seeing like Cloud like act like that.
You say funny, I say heartbreaking because
I think it's
for
funny.
obvious reasons.
I think the game's at its best though when we're experiencing the confusion with Cloud.
Yes,
like when we have no more information than he does. the ability to empathize and be like, what the hell is going on? Yeah, I feel it too, Cloud. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'm experiencing it through your brain and eyes.
We call that Roxas
I
syndrome.
think there's going to be a lot. Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of moments like it, I feel. I think there's going to be a lot of moments like it in this game.
Are we excited for Gilgamesh? Because I'm kind of hyped.
I was going to ask, like, what was up with that? Because I've got nothing.
They're just having fun. That's what I see. I'm like, they're just having fun.
Yeah.
They're just
was Gilgamesh in like one of the most recent trailers?
Yeah.
Oh, there wasn't a Gilgamesh fight in OG7, right?
No.
I don't even think Gilgamesh is in FF7 even as a summon, is he?
I don't believe so.
I don't
check.
I don't think so.
I'm all for it. Add all the Final Fantasy tropes. I'm here for it. I love it.
Well, I was confused because I'm like, okay, I didn't say anything whenever I first watched the trailer, but I'm like, that looks like Gilgamesh. And then we went back and I'm like, yeah, it's definitely Gilgamesh, but it also looked like that could have been Wutai. But then I'm like, wait a minute.
We're not going to Wutai.
We're not going to Wutai. So what is going on?
By the way, he was not in the original Final Fantasy VII.
I didn't think he was. Yeah, so that's
check it. This is why
interesting.
It's a Gilgamesh redemption. He was in 5, 6, 8, 9. Like he had a good run there. Skipped over 7.
Yep. That's funny.
Yeah, he's one of Nomura's babies. Of course, he's going to throw him in there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Plus, we all.
I wonder if that's just going to be part of like a side quest. Like I feel like that's just going to be part of a side quest.
That's one the kind of side quest we want, man.
And yes, no, I agree. Like, I want more. So, like, in my opinion, in the last 3 years, I would say maybe 4 years. Like if any game wants to do side quests right, they should look at games like God of War Ragnarok, or even just God of War 2018. Where like there are quests that feel like they should be a part of the main story, and there's like you're rewarded with like story and lore and like things like that from doing the side quests. Or even like I just played Majora's Mask like a couple months ago, and it's even stuff like that of like, wow, like this is how you should do side quests, right? Like these are how they should be done. I'm fine with the fetch quest, I'm fine with doing stuff like that. I think they can be fun. I'm fine with those. But like if we have a Gilgamesh like arc, I don't want to say arc, but like a quest line, like a Gilgamesh quest line, I think that would be sick. Like I want stuff like that. I want quest lines to follow.
RPGs at their best are the ones that have side quests that integrate into the main story. Like, yes, you could skip them, but you're missing out on great character development. You're getting more world building through the quest line. That's the best.
And Final Fantasy used to be the gold standard for that too.
True. I think it's the serialization of RPGs has been the challenge in the last maybe 15 years, and I think we're getting back to the juicy bits.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Like I played Chrono Trigger for like the first time not too long ago, and they did the same thing. Like their side quests really like dove even deeper into the lore of the characters and that. And yeah, it felt you were missing out on so much about them if you didn't do them. So it would be nice if like not just that Rebirth, but more RPGs sort of went back and took that sort of recipe and brought it forward again for the future, because yeah, they're more fun. They're more fun that way, I feel.
Well, that's actually something the original FF7 had going for it, right? Technically, unlocking Yuffie and Vincent is like a side quest hunt in a similar way. So, it's funny you brought up Chrono Trigger, because Chrono Cross, like you can unlock like 48 characters via like side quests and optional quests, which is a cool idea too. It's a wild number. Here I go again. Let me check this out.
I don't know.
That's kind of nuts. How big is that game? Like if there's that many characters.
45 characters. I just missed it. 45 characters you can get in Chrono Cross.
I want to play Chrono Cross one day.
Are there even 45 characters in Final Fantasy VII?
I could sit here and list them,
Probably.
and the answer is yes. But I don't think it would
I'm
make
just
for a good
like off the top of my
podcast.
head. Yeah, no, yeah. Just funny.
Jeez, Before Crisis alone, which I recommend everyone
I
check
watched-
out Before Crisis.
I watched a synopsis video of that last night as I was falling asleep, and I was like, "Wow, I didn't know any of this stuff. This is fantastic."
Well, that's why
It's
they-
wild to think about that. That was like for like 2 models of phone in Japan, and that was it.
That's it.
Crazy.
The most inaccessible game ever. But I think Verdot, who used to be the head of the Turks, he could be that hooded guy, man. It really could be him.
Oh,
Ooh, it
Because
could
he
be. That's
clearly
another-
went
that's a good-
into the shadows. And people who abandon Shinra tend to sympathize with Wutai.
right.
So he's another candidate. Forgot, I thought of somebody else the other day. Ooh, that's who I thought it might be. Could be Yuffie's dad.
Ooh.
Sure.
It could be
Yeah.
Yuffie's dad. Because, again, associated with Wutai. And if you remember, they drop one line about him in intermission. Yuffie just says, "Oh, that old drunk, he's in jail," or something like that. He kind of looks like he's in like a jailbreak robe. You know what I mean? He looks homeless.
Mhm.
So that might explain that.
Mm.
So I don't know. I think it could be Godo. And again, with Wutai supposed to be such a big part in part 3, what better way to kind of tease that than be like, yo, there's the Emperor of Wutai, the former Emperor of Wutai, walking around in like a robe, looking homeless. Like, and it would help Yuffie too. I think that would help to make Yuffie so much more interesting. Because now there's something that ties her back home. Like, Wutai almost feels obscure in the original. In the sense, like, you can go there,
Yeah.
there's some side quests that could be done, but it feels so obscure. And it doesn't feel like it really paints into Yuffie's character as much as it can. So, I think it would be cool if it was Godo. But I'm still with the Glenn theory, Lance. I still think it's probably Glenn. It would explain First Soldier. Alrighty. Well, if you guys don't mind, we had a few super chats roll in. So I would like to read them from these sickos and
Go for it.
normies.
Let's go.
So, Master of Masters himself showed up, said, "Can't make it today. I'll be at work by the time you're on. Dropping by to say hi." Well, we appreciate you, Master of Masters. But let's go with Lindsay Brown, who says, "Why did the ancients even make black materia? Is there a canon answer? Think we'll get more lore on the building of the pyramid? If the ancients were mostly wiped out by Genova, who built it?" All right. So what do you say we tackle that one thing at a time? I don't think there's nothing that explains why the ancients made the black materia, at least in what I've been exposed to. Maybe one of the novels really goes into it. But I don't know.
I've always had like one of two thoughts about that. And I'm kind of curious. I want to I know in the Temple of the Ancients there's like the hieroglyphics that kind of show like, you know, it shows like it has like the black materia and like stuff on them, and like there might be something to dig up in that, but like my one of two thoughts were, because I don't think they've ever said anything about that or like really went into detail that I can remember. But I always thought that, well, if the Cetra, you know, they have they are protecting like the planet creates like the white materia and they protect that, but maybe as like a I guess as what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like how Kingdom Hearts has the X-Blade, the Keyblade as the counterpart. Maybe the black materia was created as a counterpart of the white materia, because there always has to be like light with darkness, or always has to be, you know, there has to be, where there's restoration, there has to be something for destruction. So that was my first thought. My other thought that I've always had was, well, what if the black materia came with Genova when Genova like came to the planet, and then that's when the white materia was manifested by the planet as a response. So I don't know, you know, I think that could be something, but it's really just more of a theory than, I don't know if anything like that has ever been confirmed at all. But that's just what I've always played around with in my head. Does that like those both kind of make sense to me in a way?
I like both of those theories. They make sense. I
Yeah.
love the idea
Yeah.
of like the black materia being made as like an unexpected result of making the white materia, right? Like you can't have one without the other. Or
Sure.
just Genova's influence causing materia to take on a certain state. I love both of
Yeah.
those.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
materia is the materia is just a condensed. It's energy from the life stream that is just condensed and formed into like what is materia, and so when you think about that, it's like okay, it had to either have come from the planet, as a response to something, maybe, or I don't know, like Genova could have had an influence on it. I don't really know.
It also makes me wonder if maybe it was created. How do I put this? If it somehow will connect to Lifestream White, Lifestream Black, that passage. Like if there's something more to it there. And whether or not that materia exists as a consequence of that, or maybe by creating that materia, that's what brought the whole Lifestream White, Lifestream Black thing forth. Like I think there's a lot of room for lore there that, hasn't otherwise been explored.
Yeah. Because would we see it's my favorite scene I think in the entire game, but the scene where Tifa and Cloud are in the live stream. We think that's going to be in the third part, right?
No, I
or
think
Part
it's
three.
I think strangely, Tifa might that part exactly will be saved for part 3, but I think
Yeah.
they might split that segment into 2 parts. Like we might almost get a glimpse at it this time. Because I
That's
find it
probably
very
where
strange that
the lore
Tifa's,
would build. Yeah.
and Tifa's in the live stream in one of these trailers, and it's like
Yeah. Well, I wonder if that's going to be something different though, like with
because the
Tifa in the
weapons are
live
waking
stream,
up
like in the
earlier
trailer.
too. That's the thing. The weapons are
True.
waking up
Ah,
earlier.
yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was wondering
Yeah.
about that. Okay.
Well, because I feel like this part is going to end with like, it's the second part of a trilogy. So, any good trilogy, the second part always ends with the characters at their lowest. So, like, of course, it's going to end at the Forgotten City for obvious reasons, if that plays out how it's supposed to play out. But that would be the perfect time for, like, the weapons to all be roaming the planet and for just everything. Like, it would make sense that the weapons would be awakened earlier, maybe in Rebirth. Because thematically, again, I think what they're going for is they want to end the game with everybody at their lowest and with the world in a dire state, in the most dire state that it can be, with no hope.
It's good as well, like, because then when you, as a player, going into the third game, it's like, yeah, I want to go in and save everyone and stuff. So it's just good in a way if they did that.
Well, it also makes me wonder if that had anything to do with the ancients being wiped out. Like maybe the white Lifestream White, Lifestream Black was made as like a last ditch effort by the ancients to maybe put something out there. I don't know, but I hope we get some kind of explanation for that. All right, let's move on to the next one. Coming from Josh Z. Thank you, Josh Z, a Sage of the Lodge. Says, what do you think of the reviews that seem to be docking Rebirth for being too big? I think it is pretty dumb.
Very dumb.
I think it's dumb.
I haven't seen any of the reviews, so I don't know.
I'm going to extend an olive branch.
Yeah.
I'm going to extend an olive branch. Reviewers have a job to do, and they got to play those games as quick as they can. So maybe it was the part of them that tugs at their job that doesn't like that Rebirth is very long-winded, probably very long cut scenes, things like that. So, yeah, I think it's pretty dumb to complain that an RPG that aims to be as big and expansive as it is.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like that review is almost kind of, a review like that is almost expected whenever you are a reviewer for a company who writes articles on like games coming out, and you have a deadline to like play this game or play parts of the game by. So like I get it, but I also just don't think that's why I don't really trust like gaming journalism like ever, because it's they only have a certain amount of time to play a game, and any game that you rush through, you're always going to have like not as great of an experience, in my opinion. And that's just playing any game, like, because there's always going to be stuff you miss. Whereas if you just take your time with it and you take time to appreciate and like, because these people who are making these reviews, they might not have all the time in the world to think about like the significance of everything that they're seeing around them. Like we have, when we get our hands on the game, we have as much time as we want with it. But these people, like Landy said, in their defense, right? I don't like gaming journalism, but in their defense, they only have a certain amount of time so it's like that criticism is almost expected from them. But I would take something like that with, a grain of salt, because I think for us, like, I feel like I'm going to really enjoy that aspect of the game, that there is so much content. I do think there is such thing as too much content in a game, because I feel like then you can get fluffy, and then, things can sort of tend to drag. I think that's something that FF16 had a problem with. As much as I love that game, there are moments in that game where it definitely is a slog to get through. And
absolutely,
there's some stuff that definitely could have been cut, and you would have had a great experience or the same experience either way. But like Landy was saying, I feel like I wouldn't even really trust all that. I just don't even read reviews anymore unless it's after I play a game, and I want to be like, okay, I want to make sure I'm not crazy for thinking that I didn't like this part of the game. That's just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I mean, reviews are always subjective by nature. No one should take a review and be like, "Oh, this is factually exactly how the game is."
Right.
Yeah.
And that almost every factor in a review is going to be like that. Like, I didn't care for the pacing, I didn't care for the character development, whatever. But like, there's not a lot of solid foundation of fact there. As someone who at least now has just less time to play video games, sadly, I do find some value in playing some games that are shorter, but sometimes it's dependent on the genre. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going into the second part of Final Fantasy VII expecting that it's going to be short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, some of my favorite games of all time are like 12-hour games. Like, it's not really the length of a game. It's like, okay, what can that game accomplish for me in that amount of time?
And there's also like replay value too, right? Like one of my favorite games of all time, Star Fox 64, you could beat the game in 40 minutes, but I've probably played it 100 times because it's just so much fun to replay it. You take a different route, you do a different thing. Again, you could do different routes on levels. There are different routes you can take in levels, right? So it's a 40-minute experience, but every time you boot it up, you can have a different experience. Like there's a sense where it's like, just because you beat a game doesn't mean the game's over, That's kind of the nature of New Game Plus. That's the other thing, is I'm going to put 100 hours into this game and then go start it again, because now I unlock these new features where I could put them in, keep them in different outfits. Cloud doesn't have to be in the party anymore, which it's stuff like this that excites me, because I'm like, they know how to make you want to play it again. Because in that, you could argue, oh, why don't they just give that to you from the start? It's like, because they have a story to tell. And if they let you put Barrett's sailor outfit on in the Forgotten Capital, you're not
going to take it seriously. Yeah. The immersion is ruined.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just fun to have that replayability as well. Like, because you only get to experience the story of a game once, So in some sort of way, it's also nice to have short games, because I also really like short games as well. But the beautiful thing about long games is, especially if you're really, really into it and you really love it, you could be with the story for a really long time and it doesn't have to go away so soon. And you have, like Landy said, that New Game Plus, you can do other sort of quests or stuff that you haven't done yet. So there's also, I think, a beautiful thing about both long and short games. And yeah, I think that'd be so funny. Like if you can do everything you just said there, I'd be so there for it. I'll be playing this game forever.
That's why in remake, like the first time, I had to bring the Buster Sword into the final fight because like I was not going to that fight with the nail bat. That would not have hit as hard, you know. And like, I mean, maybe it would have physically hit harder, but I don't know. Like, it would not have. I just can't like. I love being able to be goofy and like have like character customization and that integrated into the cutscenes, but like for things like for a story like this, it's like no, I do not. I very much value more the immersion and the story experience than being like, you know, like having some kind of goofy thing in that cutscene. Now, some people might be different, and that's totally fine because people like. For some people, it would be hilarious, and it would be hilarious. But I definitely, with a story like this, I'm somebody who I'm like, I just want to experience it and feel all the things, and then on my second playthrough, I can goof off a little more, you know.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I like that feature how you can play as a different party member on your second playthrough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you can really mix up the teams.
Yeah, I mean, Final Fantasy VII and most JRPGs are games that we want to sit in for a while, right? I don't think we ever want a brief experience with it, but I think there's a fine line between a game being very rich in terms of quality and just overall like average game length, even for the main story, and a game overstaying its welcome. And I think a lot of that is based on how every gamer plays. You know, some people are like, I gotta find out how this ends. You know, I'm gonna skip some cutscenes. I'm gonna find out how it ends. Other folks are achievement hunters. You know, they're gonna go for all the trophies before they get to the end. And I've done that with some games I'm passionate about, like Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy as well. I'm gonna get the Platinum for 7 remake tonight, maybe. But I think that folks who try to take in all of what a game has to offer might get burnt out sometimes, and they feel like the game overstays this welcome. Like when they get to roll credits, they're like, thank God this game is over. I hate feeling that way about games, you know? It's not necessarily that the game is too long, I just chose to play it that way.
Sure.
Yeah.
All I know is I love Final Fantasy VII. So the more you give me to do in this world, the happier I am. I don't know. We can make it 300 hours, but you know, maybe I'm successfully brainwashed as an FF14 player. To be like, yeah, 600 hours, I'm in. Sounds great. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, people come to RPGs because they're not looking for a quick fix. You know, you come to an RPG for immersion. And immersion takes time. It's why a lot of RPGs are very weak at the outset. Because you're not immersed yet. And they're walking you through some controls that you probably could have figured out yourself. But once you get to a certain point, the best example is Final Fantasy XIII. That's the best example. The quality of Final Fantasy XIII pre the 10-hour mark and post the 10-hour mark is uncomparable. But I think Rebirth does a lot to mitigate that because this Nibelheim intro, it's one of the best intro. And again, so I don't know what they're drinking and eating at Square Enix, but just between FF16 and Rebirth, these demos, these like tutorials are immaculate. They're immaculate. I can't stop playing them. So that's my take on it. Anybody else on the reviewers?
I like long games.
Kitties and Mitties.
I like some long games. Depends on the genre.
Yeah.
The next one comes from Wally of the West, who says, "Squad up Sunday in the lodge."
I'll be right back.
Take your time, buddy. Happy Sunday to some of my favorite people. Well, thank you, Wally. Wally of the West. Mo Chocolate is here, says, "Love you all." Thank you, Mo.
Yeah, what up, Wally and Mo?
Wally and Mo. Okay. Let's open it up to the chat a little bit. Unless, is there anything like Rebirth, like pressing that you wanted to bring up? Anything we haven't talked about just yet?
This is a small thing, but I haven't played the demo, but I was watching Kitties play the second part of the demo recently, and I'm really excited that we're actually going to be able to customize loadouts for party members, and to have a team of Cloud, Aerith, Tifa, you know, and then you have a tab where okay, I can just switch real quick to my team with like Yuffie and Barrett.
Oh,
Like,
they have team profiles?
Yes, they do.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
really
so
fun.
good.
That was
yes, that
I
is
was just
something
complaining to myself
that
yesterday.
that's something that every RPG I feel like needs nowadays, especially when you have a lot of characters to play with, because it's exhausting to like go in and like it can be anyway to like pick your team and like switch people out. Like I love that they're doing that, and I want more games or more RPGs specifically to continue to do that.
There's so much cool stuff that was in that part of the demo. Like just like gameplay wise, I think is going to be really fun. That was one of the nice things. We can make stuff, which is pretty cool.
Make stuff as in like
Items.
materials
Like you can make like
or-
You can
Phoenix
craft
Downs,
things.
You can make
Yeah.
You can make like accessories and stuff like that. in
The
your craft. You
Phoenix.
can make
What was
cool
it? The
stuff.
Phoenix. The
Draft.
Phoenix draft.
Draft.
It looks like boba tea. So you can
Exactly.
make boba tea in 7 Rebirth, which is
But it's
sweet.
just, I think it's
I
going to
love
be
that.
cool because we can pick up materials out in the wild. We don't always have to wait for like a shop. You can like make stuff.
Yeah, can't you make like a cushion or
Seat
like
cushion! Yes!
yeah,
I
you
was very
make a seat
excited about that.
cushion. Yeah.
I was very excited. But yeah, that was really cool.
That's awesome.
And I think it's
What-
just going to be really nice.
Yeah. One of the things, as we were talking about 16 briefly, one of the things I would really love to see, and honestly, any RPG going forward, is something like the ATL system in 16, the active time lore.
Oh
So
yeah.
this is a tool that you could use in pretty much any point of the game, whether you're in a cutscene or not. And you could just be like, hold up, I forgot who that character was or where they come from. And it would give these like very brief synopses of like characters and concepts and world locations. And it was so great. Like, because a game like 16 was a lot of information up front, where I was like, I don't remember these characters or where they're from or like why they're here, or what their intentions are. But that was so helpful to me on my first playthrough, because by the end of it, I was like, I used ATL all the time. And I really hope that any RPG going forward has that accessibility, especially for newcomers. Like if 7 Remake and Rebirth is their first entry into 7, having something like that would be incredible.
Yeah, and the fact that it's like active, so it's constantly updating you like what happened with those characters or what happened with like that specific location. Yeah, that was one of 16's best features in my opinion, because again, like sometimes it can be, especially like you're saying, if somebody is picking up Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and this is their first Final Fantasy VII experience, like they didn't even play Remake or the original, they're like, I'm just gonna pick up Rebirth to see what it's about. A feature like that would be perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
And I think it should be the standard, because I don't know, I need to hear things. I need to like, in order for me to actually remember something, I need multiple exposure. You know, unless it's like super impactful, right?
I never process like information, especially like in a story like that, like the very first time experiencing it. Like I gotta like look at it multiple times, and even like, I mean, I'm like that with Kingdom Hearts too. Like I'll like watch like a cutscene 100 different times and get 100 different things out of it, because like that's just like how games like that are. And yeah, so active time lore or whatever you want to call it going forward, like I mean, something like that would be. I agree. I think there should be. It doesn't even have to be like in the mid, like something you access in the middle of the cutscene. It could be like just something in the menu where like, okay, hang on, like, and then you have a new active like lore thing that you can just like look at. But it is nice to have it in, you know, to access it like you do in 16 in the cutscenes, because it's like, okay, well, now that I'm thinking about it, I can just look at it real quick while the cutscene's playing out to give me more context and for me to remember what this character did and what's going on with, you know, the relations between this character and like this group of people and things like that.
Incredible quality of life edition.
Yeah.
And you just get to learn more too. Like I also love unnecessary information, which can be fun.
Yeah.
You know, like
tell me what Barrett likes on his hot dog, you know? Like things like
what
that.
does Barrett like on his hot dog? He might. This is
dude,
a blue collar
I
man
think-
turned eco terrorist. Got to consider that.
Dude, he's a chili cheese and onions guy. I think.
I was gonna say he dances that thing up. Like he's not a ketchup
Yeah.
mustard guy. No.
No, I don't think so either.
Absolutely not. I could see him being a chili dog kind of guy. You know, really beefy.
That was the first thing that came to my mind as well.
Well, I mean, you know, you're working in the coal mines. You need something dense when you get out of there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ay. All right, let's see. What else we got here? So Sid is here, everybody. Hello, Sid. Says, are those all of my favorite
Sid.
humans? And it is. We are your favorite humans. But humans aren't your favorite, Sid, so that doesn't really mean much. Mullins McDoo says, can someone share where to go find the actual full plot spoilers? You're in the wrong place, Mullins. No plot spoilers here. I understand
Yeah,
the
you're in the
reason.
wrong
You're saying
place.
I'd like to read them before buying as you played the original. That's your prerogative, but we're not doing that here. But I'm glad you're here, Mullins. Good to see you. All right. Aluvids says, Seventh Heaven now serving boba as it should be. As it always should have been.
Yes.
I like this one
Yes.
from Mo. How crazy would it be if the third game is called Reconnect?
I would freak out.
Cute.
All
What
right.
do we all think the third one's going to be called?
Return.
Revengeance.
Return.
That was a
I don't.
perfect
I don't think. I feel like. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be called Return. I feel like that's kind of. No offense. I feel like it's kind of a lame title
I
for
agree,
like
yeah.
a third.
I feel like it's too close to like reunion or like rebirth or
Yeah, but Reunion's already taken, so it's not going to be
Yeah,
called
it's
Reunion.
not gonna be that.
You know. I don't know.
Unless in the third game, that's when Angel and Genesis show up, and they call it Reunion to sort of call it back to Crisis Core. So I wouldn't write that one off
would
just yet.
literally die.
That'd be cool.
Anytime that game can be relevant, I think I just cry all over again.
Ooh, I like Zebulon. Restored. Restore the world.
Restored.
'Cause
Final
it's-
Fantasy VII Restored. That
Ooh,
would
I
be
like
cool.
that.
I was thinking
Cool.
like Resurgence, but that might be a mouthful.
Since we're talking about Genesis, Redemption.
Redemption. I could see that.
Redemption.
Redemption.
Like,
arc.
like the
I
gas
also
song.
feel like though, I'm wondering if, because it seems like the two titles we have so far have to deal with mainly Sephiroth, because Sephiroth's remaking things, but now it's like Sephiroth and Aerith, like with their whole rebirth thing, and so maybe part 3 will kind of segue more towards like maybe something to do with Aerith, like even if she's gone, like maybe I think Restored is actually a pretty. I think
What
that's a
about
good. Like I think that's a
Yeah.
good title. Or
I mean,
Remembered, yeah. I don't know.
How many more Rees does Square Enix have in them? They're going to run
Not
out
enough,
eventually.
apparently.
Recalm.
Remind.
Or, you know, it could be Recall. Final Fantasy VII Recall. Cloud has
Recall.
to recall his actual memories. And the whole game is about Cloud rebuilding that. So maybe.
Reclaiming his memories. Reclaim.
Reclaim. Ooh,
Reclaim.
that
I
could-
feel like it's gonna be.
Reclaim.
I feel like it's gonna be a 2-syllable word
It has to be.
because we have
Yeah.
remake and rebirth. Yeah, reclaim is a good one. That's a good
Yeah.
one. Yeah. Or Final Fantasy VII Reclaimed. Like we're reclaiming Final Fantasy VII, and like this is like what we want it to be. Like this is what they've always
Ooh, I
wanted
like
it to be.
I like it.
I
Andy
like
Brew.
that.
I
I
like
like that.
I
Yeah.
like it, Andy Brew. You listening, Square? Get this man on the phone. Okay. Cloud returns? I don't know about that. They would just say return if they're going down that road. If they're going to do Return to the Jedi, they're just going
Yeah.
to say return.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Wise Wind says, oh my God, their picture's hilarious. It's a tiny puppy with like librarian glasses on and a scarf. Anyway.
Hi, Wise One.
Wise Wind says, for the panel, who will be your go-to team in Rebirth?
Ooh.
I've got a soft spot.
Dude, I've got a soft spot for Red 13, dude. Like Red 13 is in my party the majority of the time.
I think because I haven't played as him yet, I'm just gonna throw him in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to do all the
new
new people.
Cloud,
Mhm.
Red, and Yuffie, I think is what's going to be my party. Probably.
I love playing as Tifa so much in Remake. Like, I feel like it would be the same thing. I have to have Tifa in the
Cloud
party.
and Tifa will pretty much always be in my party.
Yeah.
Cloud, Tifa, and Red were like, that's the party that I ended with when I played through it the first time. So I'm probably going to be partial to, for nostalgia purposes for me, right? Like, that's probably going to be my main party, but I mean, I'm gonna use everybody. And I think the game is going to encourage you to use everybody because they can all do different things in the field as well, which I love that they're doing that. Like, I love that, you have a reason to have other characters in your party, not just for combat, but for actually to accomplish things or puzzles or whatever it is, or to reach new locations, things like that. I love that they're doing that. And I think that also should be the standard for RPGs with multiple playable characters going forward. Like, not just using them in your party, but to actually incorporate them into the field and what you're doing there. I think that should be the standard going forward.
I need to play the demo a little bit more before I can make my decision. I haven't really played as much as I would have liked. But I'd like to have some time with all the characters.
Everyone in the demo yet, though.
True, but there was some. I would like to see what everyone else has brought to the table. So, he plays Rug, obviously. Tifa, I'd like to see what their what's new. Oh, well, obviously we're playing with Rug for the first time, but I'd like to see what's new with Tifa, because I'm sure she has some new abilities and new stuff going on, and obviously I'd like to see all those synergy attacks as well to kind of see what I have the most fun.
Yeah, I think the synergy attacks are going to be big for me with who I prioritize in my party.
Yeah. I think same.
Well, because those synergy attacks are what's going to differentiate Rebirth's combat from Remake, right?
Yes,
a lot of it. I see a lot of Cloud's combos look different. I'm sure there'll be new moves that you can learn, but from a functional standpoint, the synergy attacks are that's just what the standout is. Kind of a callback to the beginning of this podcast. Sid says Sid wants Hojo with a bunch of eyes. So you missed the sexy Hojo chat, Sid. You missed the sexy Hojo chat. Supreme Storm Brawler sent $2 our way. Says all of you are amazing. You're amazing, Supreme.
Thank you, Supreme.
Thank you.
Thanks, Supreme.
Josh Z says Final Fantasy VII Requiem.
Ooh. I've heard that one thrown around. Requiem. Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot, actually. That's really good.
Let's see. All right. Final Fantasy VII Reset? Oh, you could reset the timeline, I suppose. But I don't know.
I feel like that would not be a good third. That's basically like a remake. Yeah, that sounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of a similar connotation.
That one.
Aluvid says Lucrezia didn't miss the sexy Hojo. Not at all. FF7 required over on Twitch from So Far So Good. Because you're required to buy it. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
You made it this far. You might as well keep going.
Required reading. Umbra, the best mod in the game, says FF7 Reload. Think Persona kind of stole their thunder on that one. Zebulon crushing it again says if there's a new ending this time, it can be Final Fantasy VII rewritten. But that will piss so many people off. Just that idea.
That's that one. Yeah, because at that point you have to think about you're trying to sell a game, and you're trying to sell a third part of a trilogy, and you already know that part 2 is probably going to be pretty divisive, so that I feel would just push more people away. I like it. I like it personally. I'm gonna buy it no matter what. But yeah.
Saliha says Final Fantasy VII Reborn. But that's just
Ooh.
Rebirth all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
It does sound nice. They say it has a nice ring to it. It does have a nice ring to it.
Mhm. It does.
But that even could have been remake. That could have been the first installment. Like, it's Reborn. We've done it again. Something like that.
Mhm.
FF7 A Realm Reborn. That's another thing that might trigger some people. Okay, let me see what else we got. All right. That's it for the Rees, unless I missed something. Oh, we got Recollect. I think we're stretching now. I think we're stretching.
Redeemed.
Redeem. I could do Redeem. We were saying Redemption earlier. Redeem is better.
Or redeemed, like
Mm.
past tense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was thinking as past.
Yeah.
Redeemed. I love it.
Redeemed. Yeah, I like that.
King Vash says FF7 Resistance. Make it FF7 Resist. I think that would sound better. Resist Sephiroth the change. Just an idea.
Yeah, I feel like you with that again, like with a third installment, you need a title that's going to sound conclusive. I feel like something like that doesn't sound conclusive.
Yeah.
You know, I think all the names are interesting, but like I feel like they need to have a title that's going to sound conclusive.
I still
Yes.
like Restored. I still like Restored.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So, Corey Sarakis brings up a point here about the clear intention to maybe not redeem Sephiroth, but to humanize him, which is, that was always Crisis Core's direction. Because OG FF7, there's really no humanization there, to the point that, like, when I was younger, I honestly used to interpret the story that Sephiroth was just like Cloud's dark side. Like, it was just his dark nature, like, made manifest in some ways. And it just took the form of Sephiroth. Like, that was just a projection. There you go. But I don't know. I'm about it. I know some people don't like it because, again, in the first game, he's really just a monster. But that's just how he's portrayed. Like, you look into the lore of it all. He wasn't always that way. But I don't know. I think it's honestly my favorite thing that they're doing. Because I think villains are better when they're a tragedy. And not just evil for evil's sake or a monster that's possessed. When there's a tragedy attached to it, I don't know.
I think they're more interesting when you can relate to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've all been lied to.
And when
my
like,
favorite
you empathize with them a bit as well.
Yeah. My favorite villains are always the ones who have actually done nothing wrong and just got completely screwed over by their circumstances. That's why, like, Arden from FF15.
Yeah.
FF15. He's like one of my favorite villains. Not because of what he accomplished, but like because he just got screwed. And he's like, well, all right, here we go. And I think with Sephiroth, because in the Nibelheim flashback in the original, I think, I'm not saying, you could only get so much out of reading text on the screen, but he definitely seems more human. And at least in the demo, like from what I was watching, people play, like I like what they were doing with like the flashback. Like I like the voice direction and like how they like just, went with the dialogue with all that. And I think if you're gonna continue to humanize them, I really do think it should only, I think it's still, at least for Sephiroth, I think it should still only be via flashbacks so they can relate to him. I can't really see how they would do it going forward throughout the story or how that would make sense, but I think like Nibelheim is where you're going to relate more and connect with Sephiroth, and that's how I think it should be.
See, I feel like First Soldier is going to expand even more on his backstory, and it's already doing that. But one scene that sticks out to me is when in the First Soldier, the first trailer, he's calling Genesis, and he's not answering his phone. And then we see Glenn come out of nowhere. So I kind of like to see like how we get to that point in that trailer through First Soldier. in relation to what he becomes in Rebirth and the rest of the trilogy.
Mrs. KHGuides is here, posturing FF7 Revolution. You turn all the way around and still arrive at the same place. I like that.
Oh, I like that.
Or it could be like Revolve.
No?
FF7
I like
Revolve. That's a pretty good. That's one of the better
Revolve.
ones. Revolution.
Resolution?
Dance Revolution.
Or Resolve. FF7 Resolve. That's too straightforward.
Yeah.
That's too straightforward. Okay. Lindsey Brown says the thing about OG Sephiroth was he wasn't wrong. He was like Avalanche, but took it to further extremes. That's why OG was so good. They presented Shinra as the evil force, then Sephiroth shows up. I suppose what you mean, Lindsay, is that his... Because he was wrong. I don't know if I go so far to say he wasn't wrong, but he was... you understood. You know, you understood why he went crazy, why he turned on Shinra.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like Avalanche. Avalanche's ideas, debatably, may be good. It's just their way of carrying it out is questionable. Sephiroth, maybe that's the direction they're taking him in, but with everything you know in OG, it's a little bit more black and white. But that's why I actually like the expansion of FF7.
Too tight.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We get another super chat from Josh Z, who says, I think Aerith needs to have agency over her death. I would love for her to take a stab that was meant for Tifa.
Oh, the shipping wars would end. There would be peace.
It's true. It's true.
World peace. No, they would never end. No.
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 Nah. People would be so like that's something that I would love to just see the internet's reaction to that. Because now are we like going more like the Aerith Tifa route in terms of ships now? Like, you know, people are gonna take it in that direction too, if they already don't. But I'm just like,
people take it in every direction. This is the internet.
Yeah, I was gonna say there is a
the
ship for
direction-
everything.
yes, we're going in circles, literally. But yeah, I think it would be funny to see the internet's reaction to that specifically. Because it's not sacrificing for Cloud, it's sacrificing for Tifa. You know?
I think Josh put this in the
think
chat
he would, though.
earlier, but imagine the stab meant from Tifa was coming from Cloud. And that's who Aerith jumped in front of, not
Oh my
Sephiroth,
gosh.
right? It could have been, that would be insane.
That would be insane.
Crazy.
Question: in the final trailer, we see Zack trying to stop Sephiroth. Where do you think that's from? Do you think that is in Zack's timeline? Do you
Yeah,
think that's in? Oh, do you also think it could possibly be in the flashback from where Tifa's trying to fix Cloud? I know that's a lot farther in the story, but do you think it's possible they're going to put that in Rebirth? So you think that's a part 3 thing? Because I think that's interesting how they put that.
I think we were kind of I think Landy was kind of talking about that earlier, because Sephiroth can manifest himself in front of people who have the Genova cells, and so I think that is just. Now, we still don't really know if this is like an alternate timeline, world line,
Right.
if it's a live stream, but we do know that Sephiroth can manifest himself in front of people with those cells.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of wondering if he can be like almost omnipresent to like those people, or if he can only be in like one place at one time. 'Cause that's something I'm like not really sure of. I would like to think that like I don't really know, because you know, Cloud does just see Sephiroth when he's not there, so that very much also could just be another hallucination, whatever you want to call it, because of the cells in Zack. But yeah, because that was very clearly at the church, it seemed like. whenever
At the Turks?
I think wasn't it in the you're talking about
Oh.
the last trailer, right?
I thought that was, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I didn't see it properly. I thought that was like when he's going to see Genova. Like I thought
It
was
looked
like,
like is it whenever like when Sephiroth like slashes up and then it cuts to like the next scene? Is it that?
No,
Is that the one you're thinking of?
when he turns around and Sax was like, "Oh, you."
Yeah, it looked like that was at the church.
I thought
That's
he
what
said
it,
not you.
Yeah,
Oh,
something like
yeah,
that.
He's not
yeah.
you.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Right.
that
Yeah.
that was at the church, right?
Yeah, I think that was at the
Those look
church.
like the
Okay.
steps. Mhm.
Okay, I thought that was like from what I remember, I thought that was at like him seeing Genova and Sax trying to stop him. That's why I thought that was. But that's at the Turks. That's completely different.
Mhm.
Which is interesting though in itself, because I'm wondering like how many times is Zach going to the church? Because like
Endless
I can't remember.
times.
I can't remember if we talked about this in the pre-roll. Are we not talking about intermission?
Let's leave out what happened at the very final battle.
Okay.
Let's leave the
Got it.
consequence
Okay.
of the final battle out. Everything else we could put
Okay,
on the table.
Okay, because Zach shows up at the church
Mhm.
at the end of that DLC, and so I'm like wondering how many times he's like going there, because obviously it seems like whenever that scene with him and Sephiroth, because it very much looks like the church in the trailer. When does that happen? Like, it's got to be like after he's already went back there before. So it's like, why is he going back? Like, I don't know. I'm real curious to see the event, like the order of events with all the Zack stuff and what that looks like. Because I'll be honest, like I've got like nothing other than like the only thing that I was thinking of previously was just as Cloud and company are making their way to the crater. Sephiroth, maybe in his timeline or whatever, is also making his way up to the crater, but for a different reason. And, that's where a merge of the timelines or whatever is going to happen. It's the only thing I can think of, but like, I really don't know because in the trailers, we've only seen Zack in Midgar. We haven't seen him anywhere else.
I have a theory about that I am too lazy to make a video on. I think Midgar is the pocket dimension. That's why you see the whispers like creating that barrier, and that's why they said we're not going back to Midgar in this game, which is a little sus to me. I'm like, what do you mean I can't go back to Midgar yet? Anyway, but they're casing the whole thing, right? And I'm wondering if that is like, again, almost like I said earlier in the podcast, like an immuno response. Like if we can't control what's out there, let's try to like bubble in what's here. And maybe by Sephiroth getting control of the whispers, that's what allows him through that barrier.
That's good.
Yeah, because it's, like you said, everything with Zack is in Midgar. We don't see Zack go anywhere else. He's like stuck in Midgar. Which in a way could be really, really like meta for Aerith's psychology. Because she never wanted to leave Midgar. She was always kind of content to stay there. Also, really random fact. I think it's funny how Aerith has like, guys, you and I have always talked about like her overlap with Rapunzel, archetypically speaking.
Oh yeah.
But now like in the Zack world, it's almost like she's Sleeping Beauty now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's gonna cover
That's
that
such an
whole
interesting scene in that trailer, seeing like Zack seeing a sleeping Aerith. That's so I don't know. That's
literally my wallpaper.
Oh,
It's literally my wallpaper. Oh, but to touch on like why he keeps going back to the church, I don't think it necessarily even has to be a plot reason. I think the church is just a place of comfort for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think throughout the course of his life and events, that's become his safe place.
Sure. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Well, what's peculiar is in that trailer, he doesn't have the Buster Sword. Like that's the thing that stands out to me is that Zack's at the church, but no Buster Sword, which makes me...
really? I didn't even catch that.
That's why I think
it's going to be interesting.
I think that might have something to do with Cloud. I don't know. Maybe by Cloud somehow getting into that world, it, goes to him. I don't know. But it's interesting.
Would this is like really, really random, but like would the flowers in the church have anything to do with it? Like
the flowers and just in general, the church and the flowers are like just a hub of supernatural. Like
yeah.
supernatural things just happen there. Like flowers growing in Midgard just to begin with. But it's like I feel like almost like that church might be a conduit between realms.
It could be.
This may be why the church was built there in the first place. We don't know what sect of religion that church might have been for, right? I don't think we know that.
Yeah, and I mean we see that version of, you know, in the trailer there's Aerith that pops up in the church with like her hair down. She's talking very monotone. So like you could be onto something there. Like that could be like there could be something with that. I mean, maybe it just I think there's something there.
She talks to the flowers as well. So I don't know if that's like that she's generally actually communicating with something in the other realms, perhaps through that. I don't know.
I always just thought that was just her way of a way of her communicating with the planet itself. You know,
I was thinking that too, Andy.
But that could be. Maybe there's a reason why she says, "Don't touch the flowers." It could be a whole pocket dimension in itself.
Yeah, maybe.
Follow them, the yellow flowers. That's what the planet told her. Follow them, the yellow flowers. And I almost wonder if that has something to do with the flower she gave Cloud, and if that's like a marker, like Cloud got it, then Tifa got it, then Tifa put it in Seventh Heaven, and like Marlene became attached to it. Like it's almost like there's this, and like these three of them, as you see in Advent Children, become much closer. But I don't know, like. I've been trying to make sense of that line since she said it. Follow them, the yellow flowers. And then it cuts to like the petals falling. And it makes me wonder if like she's marking the party or something. I don't know. Random thought.
It's like exit, it's like a recusing signal.
Yeah. Something like that. Well, interesting you bring that up, right? Because there is definitely a special sect of person in the remake trilogy, and these are the people who can see the whispers, right? And we still don't know exactly what unites those people. Because it's everyone from Cloud to Tifa to Avalanche to Rufus. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to make of that yet. Because they deliberately showed you, like, remake did 3 things at the end. Zack is alive. Biggs is alive.
Yeah.
Rufus can see the whispers. Those were your 3 things. Now we see them toying with the first 2, right? We see the Zack, the Biggs in the trailers and stuff. What's their plan for Rufus, man? What's their plan for him?
Kill him.
Kill him.
No, don't kill him.
Yeah, kill him so he can't throw Genova's head or whatever in that box off of the roof in Advent Children. You know, like it all like there you go.
I guess just to clear up something Lindsay was bringing up before about Sephiroth being right, they further clarified, yes, just as you start the game, you play as people screwed over by Shinra, and you learn that Sephiroth is the same as you, he just takes it way further. That I totally vibe with.
Yeah.
Just a Waffle, cousin of Pancake, says, follow the yellow brick flower road. That's cute.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see. Josh Z says, I just think that Aerith and Tifa are deliberately closer in Remake, and I don't think that's by accident. That's why I have the theory about Aerith jumping in front of Tifa. Interesting. Okay. Irrelevant, but a couple of weeks ago, I found out that Lizard is actually Shinra's son. Reckon Lizard will get any mention in future games. I would hope so.
Wait, what?
I would hope so.
I hope so too.
Lance, did you miss that in Crisis Core?
Wait, so Lizard is, so him and Rufus are brothers?
Half
Technically,
brothers,
they
I
might
think.
be stepbrothers.
I missed. I'm a fake Crisis.
Dude,
Core fan.
Shinra.
Shame.
Nah, Shinra's all about these dudes just dropping their
He's
seed
upset
wherever
with
they
you.
feel like. Like the scientists, they're all put. The Shinra is full of men trying to Genghis Khan it. That's what you learn at the end of the day. Just full of men trying to Genghis Khan it.
My mind's kind of blown away. I had no clue. That's crazy.
Aluvid says they got that super water in the church. Bro's gonna go in the water and wake up on the other side.
Oh my god.
Honestly, I kind of love the idea of the church grounds being some type of celestial waypoint
Yeah,
for the
Mhm.
ancient. Like maybe the church predates Midgar,
that would be so
It
cool.
or
could.
something there was. Something there definitely was, and that's why Aerith's there.
Yeah, it definitely looks like old.
Yeah.
Really old.
You know.
Mm.
Yeah, like you said, guys, it's so old to the point that no one can even reference like what religion it belongs to or like what theology it belongs to. It's just kind of the abandoned church. And then Aerith's like, yeah, flowers grow here for some reason, which, you know, would definitely point towards the ancients. So honestly, maybe it is a church of the ancients. I mean, the temple of the ancients is still around. Why not a church?
Yeah.
And maybe that's why Midgar was built there. Because maybe that's where
Ooh.
Genova settled with the ancients. Maybe that's what Midgar actually is.
Mm. Well, yeah, and there seems to be, I mean, you know, Shinra is sucking energy out of the planet. And so maybe maybe they built Midgar there because that just so happened to be like a hot spot,
Mhm.
you know? I mean, could make sense.
I'm going to actually just double check if we know. Yeah, no. Doesn't say anything.
Mm.
Crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. I wonder if Geostigma will be a bigger part of this trilogy. If they'll try to rope
I
that
wonder.
in.
Yeah.
I could see it being part of a side quest, maybe.
Yeah.
Hmm. Or maybe it's heavily more in the third part of the game.
I was thinking that call. Yes, possible.
Maybe.
More possible than a rebirth thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm leaning towards the side quest direction. Because that could be like another piece of like another tidbit that you could just integrate into overall lore and story without like actually it being, you know, not crazy enough to be like, you know, it's just like it's just like small enough to be like it could be part of a side quest, but it also could be relevant to like just lore, you know, or just like things that we've seen before. And maybe that I don't know if that'll be in this game, but maybe that could be a part 3 thing.
So I was trying to look up any sort of connection to this church and something in the FF7 lore. And I stumbled upon some interesting stuff that has nothing to do with what I initially was looking for. But I found this interesting. The fight sequence in the church between Laz and Tifa and Advent Children was duplicated in the music video for the Korean pop singer IVMV's Temptation of Sonata, albeit with minor changes. Such as the small parts of the fighting choreography being altered due to the absence of Laz's dual hound and Tifa's victory by snapping Laz's neck at the end. This music video was banned on TV, and the singer Ivy was sued by Square Enix.
Whoa.
Wild.
Interesting. It's kind of nuts.
That? What the heck?
That's
And then I
weird.
found something a
Wow.
little more relevant that could be interesting. And this all comes from FinalFantasy.fandom.com, by the way. The church flowers were initially portrayed as yellow, but from Advent Children onwards, white flowers have been mixed into the flower bed. The flowers resemble real-world Lilium genus of flowers, lilies, important in culture and literature in much of the world. In Victorian language, lilies portray love, ardor, and affection for loved ones. Lilies are commonly used at funerals where they signify the soul being restored to the state of innocence. Thinking of the end of Advent Children there. The Taiwanese lily grows near bodies of clean water, leading to beliefs that harming them, in turn, damages the planet. Eastern lily is a plant endemic to Taiwan and Ryukyu Islands of Japan, known as such for symbolizing the resurrection of Christ. Which I That is crazy.
That's so wild.
That's a lot.
I love it though.
I'm gonna
It's
drop.
such a good tie and everything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna drop this link in the chat across everything here in case anybody wants to read that.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah. I'll check that out as well, actually.
Mhm.
Okay, well look, we are almost at 2.5 hours here.
Sheesh.
So,
I was about to say I actually need to leave here soon.
well, in the spirit of that, was there anything anyone wanted to talk about today that we haven't gotten to just yet? Is there anything left on anyone's lingering mind?
Honestly, not that I can think of.
I don't think so.
I'm just 4 days. Hurry up.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like we covered a lot.
Please.
Yeah. Quick PSA, if you're anyone in chat, if y'all are huge fans of the series and are excited to talk to everyone about Rebirth when it releases, please tag your posts so that people who can't play on day one can still keep a fresh playthrough. Please and thank you.
Absolutely.
In case you have any questions what that hashtag might be, hashtag FF7 Rebirth spoilers, and just to be safe, use both like the number 7 and the Roman numeral. Because sometimes these feeds aren't always the best at filtering that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But great PSA guides.
Cute guides.
Yeah, I felt a little bad because I put up that Cisne video and I just put her in the thumbnail. I didn't think about that till like a few days later. I was like, oh, there might have been someone who's like, I'm not watching that trailer. It's probably one of you in this chat right now, honestly. I'm not watching that trailer. And then, oh, thanks, Landy. Thanks. All right.
Could be worse.
Good. It
Yeah, it
could be worse.
happens. It happens.
All right. Supreme Brawler says this has been a nice surprise roundtable talk today. Thank you for the stream. Well, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching.
This is fun.
If you
Yeah.
do,
Thanks for having us.
I
Andy.
always enjoy
Yeah,
these.
thank you.
of course,
Me too.
I
I'm
enjoy
like,
these.
I feel ready. Like I'm just like,
You ready?
Yeah.
I'm ready to go.
Ready
Like,
to
I feel like we're all like in like the end of remake. All of us right now are in Midgar at the very end of remake, and we're about to like we're also about to cross over and experience Rebirth. That is how I feel right now. I feel ready for it now.
There's no
For
going
sure.
back. There's no going back. But yeah, 4 days, and you know, maybe we'll let some time pass and we'll all get together again, talk about, you know, all the good stuff. Give it, you know, we really need an internet like standard of how long after a game is out.
Oh,
Can
we
you
actually
start to
do.
do that? I
That's
don't know
tough.
who gets to decide that. Who has to have a meeting? I don't know. But
Yeah.
we need some structure out here. We need some structure. All right. But with that said, we're going to wrap up here today. If you're hanging out on Twitch, please stick around for the raid. We are going to raid Princess Kyora. She's playing a little Pokemon Emerald.
Yay.
Please stick around
Hey,
for that.
PK.
Thank you, everybody on YouTube who watched. Thank you, everybody on Twitter that watched. Thank you. Nobody watched on Kick. They never do. But let's give a shout out to the Sages of the Lodge and those who sent super chats. Josh Z, Supreme Storm Brawler, Mo Chocolate, Wally of the West, Lindsey Brown, Master of Masters, and of course our new followers on Twitch, SL White, Melody, and Holler Bastion. With all that said, thank you for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for dealing with those technical issues at the beginning. And I've got the links for everybody in the description. Follow them. You don't want to miss it. Good night, everybody.
Yeah.